Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I want to thank all the coaches, the players. I've heard, I haven't even got through all my texts and emails yet. Just how many people, like Troy said, appreciate Nebraska volleyball. Feels great. So we want to be a difference maker. We want to leave a legacy. And so I feel like we've done that.
Top Prince has the ball, right side quarter court. Drives down the lane and opens up for her. And it counts. And a foul. The Red Sea parted for Prince. And she got an easy layup and an and one. Yeah. 9 to shoot. Williams turns the corner into the rim and he throws it down. You want to go back to it? Oh, 1-5 on the baseline out of bounds to Juwan Gary for 2. To Gary again on the baseline out of bounds. Second time he's rocked the rim from underneath the hoop.
Boswell gets it in, right corner, Riley. Riley against Hoiberg, fires it up. Missed it. Ball tipped around, and we're going into overtime. The rebound by Williams off the miss by Riley. 70-70 after 40 minutes of play. Darvin on the right side is Williams, and driving up and putting it up and in. He put that puppy in. Huskers by 4, 76-72. Looking. Finding Williams, pump fake, man in the air, puts it up. Got it! He got that puppy down! 6-point Husker lead. 78-72, 39 seconds left to go, and this one throws it across the timeline to Verghese to Rooster, and with 8.9 to go, the Huskers are going to win this ball game and put this baby to bed. Just what Fred Hoiberg ordered, a gritty, dirty, ugly, and grinded out win in overtime over Illinois. Final score, Nebraska 80, the Illini 74.
Good morning. Welcome in to Hurrdat Sports Radio, here presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. What's up, DB?
How are we doing?
I'm doing good.
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm doing terrific.
Do you wonder what I'm trying to dial in on?
Trying to figure out which TV to watch.
Yeah.
What's that?
I got the iPad. I forgot to change the channel.
It's okay.
Don't worry. I'm on it. I got you.
Were my eyes distracting?
No, I could just tell that that's when I knew I forgot, is when I saw you scanning. I was like, oh, you know what? I messed up. I done messed up, AA Ron.
It's not that funny, Shane. not that funny at all.
It's a little funny.
No,
not even a little bit.
No.
Zero fun, sir.
No. I tell you what was funny. So obviously in a place last night that was heavily populated, and using the restroom.
Where were you last night?
Just washing my hands, just minding my own business.
Okay.
Just washing my hands, and there's a gentleman in the stall.
Mm-hmm.
And went in after me. Was clearly in a hurry. Sat down. Just a honest to God true story. I'm sure he's a sports fan. And I was in there I was pulling paper towels, so I had only been at the sink. I said, dang it. Damn it. Oh, Jesus Christ. What are the odds? I thought about this all night. What are the odds he got poop on his hand?
Oh, pretty high. Pretty high.
Okay, that's the first thing I thought
high.
of. I'm like, this is kind of a weird thought process, but that's the first thing I thought of.
No, it's kind of funny you mention that because so like I've had similar thoughts.
Sorry.
No, I've had similar thoughts before,
That's
right?
fine.
So like, I go to a lot of games, right? I go to a lot of Creighton games. I've gone for years, right? And every once in a while I'll go in to the bathroom and somebody will just be having like an episode.
That's just a fit.
In a stall,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was one point where I was like, man, you really got to be going through it to be like, man, I got to drop a deuce at a basketball game.
Yeah. So the one thing that I think happens at sporting events though is you're probably gone a while.
Yeah.
And you're eating and drinking.
Yes. But
which is why those things
you don't do that.
No. Ever.
But like nobody plans to have to take a dump at a basketball game, right?
Well,
those are not ideal bathroom circumstances.
I'm flying tonight at 6 whatever.
So you're not eating all day?
I was already in prepared.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like dehydrating yourself and not eating anything.
Yeah.
Like there is.
It just was interesting.
Airport bathrooms. That's one you don't want to be caught having to drop anchor. Gas station bathrooms, and I think stadiums are third.
Stadiums? Yeah, I would probably
like
agree with
stadiums
that.
are up there for like I don't want to have to poop here.
Now there are a couple of immaculate places
For sure.
for gas stations.
Yes, there are, but it's a no pun
there's
intended. It's a crapshoot.
There's a very, very popular place right by the airport in Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Sits right behind a McDonald's.
Good bathroom place.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it is. It's like a mini grocery store too. I imagine because it's right off the interstate, so you get the trucker access. It's huge. It's very visible.
Yeah,
I would imagine it does a tremendous amount of business.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Tremendous. I mean, the bathrooms are fantastic. They've got slush machines. They've got
slush machines. That's a nice touch.
Oh, like
I thought, whoa.
Like 9.
Oh, wow. They got like varieties.
Yeah. Everything you need to drink. They have really good protein snack products. Like it's like a little mini.
So
grocery
not
store.
like the gas station across the street from our hotel in Indy.
No. When you have to slide things under plexiglass, it's probably different.
It's like maybe we shouldn't be staying here.
Well, there's a little spot on the corner here off of Harrison. And I've kind of made it my staple because I went in there a couple of times because I wanted to see what their chicken game was like.
Okay. Not doing it?
No, but it is kind of become my spot because no one is ever in there.
Dude, that's nice. I like the ones that are generally pretty empty.
It's fantastic. I was in there a couple of days ago and I noticed the shelves were a little barren.
A little sparse?
Yes.
Are you the type of person like if there's too many cars in the parking lot, you'll try a different spot?
Oh yeah.
Because I will too.
Oh yeah. I'm not. You have no idea. I've not gone into restaurants.
Oh, for sure.
Perusing.
Yeah, you're like, this is too busy.
I've done the poke my head in and leave. Oh yeah, like
you know what I'll do sometimes?
No, I'm not above any of that.
I'll pull up to the door and I'll send Natasha in. I go, hey, go find out how long the wait is.
Yeah. And
then she'll come outside, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah, I didn't marry anybody like that. The only finger I'd have got is the one that's going to let me know she ain't doing that. Yeah, we married different people.
Yeah, I was just like, baby, you want to see how long the wait is? She's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
It's interesting how that works. I ought to try that sometime. Hey, do you want to? Oh.
Nope. No, we good? Okay, cool.
All right, I'll just leave this thing running off it. Stay right there.
We'll just keep it pushing.
Man, it's wild out here.
It's fun. It's tough out here. It's tough for some people. Yeah, I just I do. It's funny you bring that up because I've thought about people having to poop in inconvenient places, an inordinate amount probably.
Yeah, it just kind of struck me as in a hurry and
yeah. So the other option, if he didn't get poop on his hand,
that had to be it.
There's only one other option.
He missed?
Is that he didn't get his pants down in time?
Nah.
And he pooped himself a little bit. Okay, that was my only other thought. If I'm having that reaction,
no.
Like two things have happened to me. Either I poop on my hand.
I just think that's funny. I mean, like you got to really.
Or I didn't get the pants down in time.
You got to really be all dialed out to have that happen.
Yeah, like are you? Like, listen, as we know, I've had some digestive issues in public places.
Yeah.
So, and I've never missed.
This is crazy. I'm going to move off of this but I did want to ask you.
Yeah.
But I felt so bad for you. Like, did you, how quickly did you case the joint? Like, what if you didn't have TP?
Oh, I checked really fast.
It had to be like in a blink.
Yes. But
I came in to wash my hands and I was like, well, that was fast. Did he jog? Have you ever been caught without?
Yeah. So not since I was young. I learned that lesson early.
Shane, you've done the get out and have to go to one that had
like to a different
all
stall?
The proper amenities, right?
No, but what if the guy last night was listening to the game? I mean, what if he had his buds in and there was a point in the game?
Just lacked focus? I didn't say what he was doing.
There was a point in the game where he was just mad.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think he got poop on his
He
hand.
he didn't have anything in his ear.
I think he got poop on his hand. I think that's our conclusion here.
It did. It's so funny, right?
Which, if I got poop on my hand, that's actually a pretty mild reaction. To be fair, like if I have poop on my hand in public, that's a pretty mild reaction.
That thing wet.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, oh, kind of made me uncomfortable.
Maybe he was praying.
It was uncomfortable.
Maybe he was having a little worship moment
I
there.
think God's honoring the expletives right before that, though. The whole.
Maybe it was like more of an Old Testament prayer.
The whole G, damn it.
Well, sometimes.
Jake said maybe he's listening to a sporting event. Golly, man, how you not putting the ball in the basket, Drexel?
I know sometimes.
How do you miss 2 free throws like that?
Sometimes in the Old Testament, there would be some damning of people by God.
Yeah.
So maybe he was starting Old Testament.
Big covenant guy, you think?
Yeah, maybe he was going Old Testament. He was like, these people were damned by God. And then he goes New Testament. And he goes, Jesus Christ.
That's a fairly okay pull.
I did go to Bible college, DB.
That's fairly okay. I think he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Wizards dressed this starting lineup.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Do you know how many wins the Wizards have?
Single digits?
How many?
8.
6.
Oof.
They're 6-41. When you're letting Bronny James make highlights, you're not good.
Yeah, you need to reconsider something.
And I get that.
Although that makes sense because he's been okay in the G League, and if he's playing a G League roster in the Wizards, that checks out.
6-41.
That's
at
really
that point
bad.
it was like
That's
I don't
pretty
know.
bad.
It's like 87-51.
You probably need to reevaluate some life choices at that point.
And all I could think of was Screaming A's emotional plea. Bronny, LeBron, please stop.
As a father,
please stop. I'm like, as a father, like, what? How many superstar kids you trying to raise? Screaming?
I'm not going to touch that one.
Please stop. Please. That's your dude, though.
How's that my dude?
I can't stand that guy.
I can't either. I'm not a Stephen A. Smith guy. Don't put that.
Don't put that crap on you.
Don't put that evil on me.
You got the poopy touch.
Much like your friend in the bathroom last night.
Speculation.
Allegedly.
What if there was no toilet paper and he just realized it?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the number one thing is when you go into a restroom like
that's
that.
a fair point.
Always
maybe he was like,
make sure there's toilet paper.
I'm sure I would think that would happen quite a bit for public restroom users. Because typically, nobody seems to ever mosey on into gas stations or restaurants to use the restroom. They appear to be moving at a fairly decent clip, and I'm not sure they always have time
like the wherewithal
to peruse. And I'm sure you get caught without sometimes.
So I don't, because I've been a public restroom user for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I've got it down.
Yeah,
I'm a
all things.
You bring your own roll?
I'm the Brock Purdy of bathroom users. Like, I'm a quick blinker. I process things quickly. And I know they don't mean anything.
It's a little early, but I will though. I probably do it on the plane. Like I'll get into that here in the next week or so.
So, and I don't particularly love this guy, but Kuiper put his first one or most recent one or whatever.
I'm sorry, you lost me at who?
Mel Kuiper
Uh-huh.
put out his most recent one. But I've seen this from multiple people after this came out. And that's Cleveland taking Travis Hunter over a quarterback.
At 3?
At
Are they
2.
3? Are they 2? Okay.
They're at 2. And I'm sitting there and I go, okay. How would you classify Cleveland's roster overall?
So the Travis Hunter thing is weird because he's not the best wide receiver and he's not the best DB.
And you have to imagine he's not going to play both full time the way he did.
So, like, are you trying to 2-1 this thing? Because that's not going to happen,
right? Like in the NFL, he's not playing both positions full time, correct?
No,
right. So,
but I mean, I'm not sitting here acting like most people don't have him as a top 5 pick because they do. I'm just saying, I think it's interesting that.
But if you're Cleveland, right, and you have, I think, an okay roster, that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't have a bad roster.
No.
They have a bad quarterback.
I mean, you probably have to upgrade at wide receiver at some point.
Sure. But are you doing that with the number 2 overall pick? With the guy that's probably not the best wide receiver in the class?
Probably not.
When you have an opportunity where quarterback is obviously a real problem here, and you don't really, because you have so much money committed to Deshaun.
Not as bad as we think, but yes.
There's some ways they can get out of it soon.
Yeah.
Ish, right? Yeah. But
very creative.
You probably want to get a cheap quarterback. Like
you talk
a
cheap,
budget,
i.e. rookie deal.
But yeah, a budget, because you're not getting a cheap veteran quarterback that's going to do anything for you. Because like even Darnold wasn't cheap in terms of a rookie deal cheap, right? So if you're Cleveland, you like most of the rest of your roster, you can find wide receivers.
I don't know. I think there's cheap relative to the cost of doing business.
Sure.
Is the Browns roster close enough where, and I know
that you think you're a quarterback away?
Yeah, we've grown to hate this word, but a bridge guy
actually helps you,
or are you just prolonging the inevitable? So that's going to be tough
because we have.
I think it's a tough draft at the top.
I agree.
I think it's a really tough draft at the top.
But let's assume Cleveland can't get out of 2.
I mean, what would make me draft? What would make me draft? And I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
What would make me draft like Travis Hunter ahead of Will Johnson? Or what would make me draft Travis Hunter over
McMillan from Arizona?
Yeah.
Literally the only thing I can think of.
Or shoot, you go to Iowa State. Like,
sure,
you go to a couple guys.
Yeah.
By the way, he must be really, really nice at 6'4".
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So like, the
only thing I can think of is if you think you can get both out of him.
The totality of the athlete,
which I don't think you can.
I don't know. I can't wait. I just want to. I want to watch a little bit more of because clearly he has held up.
He has.
Not a big guy, though.
He's not. He's pretty slight. And
there's already some wear and tear. He missed games in college.
Yeah, he missed games last year.
Which is kind of my anti-Derrick Henry argument. Remember when we thought once upon a time the tread too much tread was off Derrick Henry?
Mm-hmm.
That appears
that was not the case.
The greatest fallacy maybe ever.
That was not accurate. Derrick Henry still has lots of tread.
As good as in 2024 as he did
2018. Yeah. I mean, what did he go for 1,900 this year?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And how did he
get such
huge holes?
I mean,
it was incredible.
So what have we talked about a lot about this with Nebraska this year, right? Where if you don't have the element of QB run game, it makes it really hard on your running backs. Mm-hmm. In the NFL, when you do have the element of QB run game, I think especially with a guy like Lamar, which I get there's one of those, or maybe 2 now with Jaden, but Lamar's sort of different as a runner, then I think it makes your life dramatically easier.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like if it works one way, it should work in the reverse, right?
I'm with you. And we want to get into this next segment as we talk Nebraska basketball and what happened at Nebraska basketball last night. But I'm convinced after watching last night's festivities, I'm even more convinced that my number 1 pick for development is back to my number 1 pick. I almost let all you guys talk me off of it. Everybody had some great picks. I'm going with Raiola.
You didn't like his passes to Harburg?
So I have to be very careful because I don't know enough yet.
Sure.
I just know a couple of basic premises. I want one of my best players to be able to be coached the hardest and to be the most disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's any direct correlation, but as a mental exercise, when you stop feeling like Nebraska's best, whoever you thought their best players were the players that didn't get after it the most, is probably when it started to go south the fastest. So I do think, and now that's anecdotally.
Sure.
Right?
I would say that about just about
to be like especially the younger they are. Right?
Yeah.
It's what I say about Braylon Warren all the time. Like, you gotta stay on that guy. Stay on B. Good kid, he can handle it. Don't let him skate early.
Because if he can elevate and be coached hard,
then
everybody has
then we got something.
Yeah. Because everybody can look around and be like, well, if he's getting coached hard, what do I expect?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, and he was getting drilled.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and he was a young guy, sophomore. But anyway, so that's like, I mean, he does a lot of things in the offseason, and I'm not saying he can't do his job, but he's very busy doing a lot of other things. I don't know if that can be like the poster child if you're not laying it on the line all the other time. Like, I think your teammates have to know that, especially if you're a young guy.
Yeah.
So I further am cemented in Raiola.
Dylan's got to be the guy.
You still going? Who was your guy? Keona Davis? No, Van Poppel.
Mine was Keona. Mine was like
You wanted a big.
Yes. I wanted a defensive lineman. I wanted Keona. Like, I want a defensive lineman that's like wrecking games. And I think Keona Davis has that physical ability.
I know you'd love his frame.
And I think that's a guy that you can, if he develops the way I think he's capable of, that's a guy that can wreck games. Because Nebraska, as good as like Ty Robinson has been, wasn't really a game wrecker. Really, really good defensive lineman.
Yeah.
But you really haven't had.
Watched him pretty close the last couple of days at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a large person.
I said this when they put out the single-digit number photo. He looked so much bigger than everyone else.
And
like,
I think he only came in at like 296.
Oh, he came in light,
but it seemed bigger than that
because he was.
I have to go back and double check
because 310 during the year.
I scanned through all the measurements, but he's just a massive, thick dude,
huge human being.
Did you watch any of the Shrine game last night?
No, I was at PBA.
Yeah.
We'll get to Nebraska basketball finally off the losing streak with a ranked win over Illinois. That and so much more.
So funny that it's Illinois. We walked through this whole scenario.
We did the whole thing. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. Don't forget, my fighting Mick Cronin's won again. On a roll, baby. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, reminding you to buckle that seatbelt. It prevents injuries and saves lives, but only if worn properly. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. DB.
Big NDOT guy.
We love the NDOT. We were got to see them have some who was clicking at the Nebraska game last night.
Were you enamored that it was so star-studded?
There was a lot of people there.
I was waiting for them to like flash on the television or the jumbotron or however you were consuming. Like you were just going to run down and talk to Zach Taylor. Maybe sit on his lap.
No, me?
Scoot the kids over.
Only if he had Joe Burrow with him.
Man crush.
You know, I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. I love Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
No, it was super cool. They did the Coach Cook kind of honoring after the first media timeout. I will say, maybe this was my perception. I think the ovation for DBK was louder than the one for Cook.
I'm sure
it was, and the one for Cook was loud.
And I didn't think she was gonna embrace it.
Yeah,
right?
She looked like
she was pretty cool at first, and then when she threw the hands
Yep.
up, it was like.
Well, and Cook did it too. Like, so
She's-
he's kind of trotting out, and then does one of these to the crowd, and the place went nuts. As soon as he put his hands up, the
Hey,
place went nuts.
were you going to ask him for his coat?
That was kind of a sick
That
coat.
thing was kind of sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would like wear it. I would probably just like keep it as a collector.
Yeah, that was
But
a
that
pretty
Joker
sweet
was
coat.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure out. I was like, where did he get that from? No, that was a super cool moment though. And I had this because we see when new football coaches get hired, right? They get trotted out the basketball game all the time. I go, how many places in the country get this type of ovation for the new volleyball coach?
I just
Because
it's not disrespectful to the current guy. It's just this is Nebraska being Nebraska, right?
100%. Like,
Show me some love. Show me some love.
that was a pretty cool moment.
Little Bernie Mac.
And Benny Mac or Bernie Mac?
Well, this time Bernie.
Okay. But that was a pretty cool moment. It was man, I will say there's a moment in the second half, though, where it really felt like Nebraska was going to like pull another Iowa situation.
Were you expecting it to be louder?
I was actually. So I'm glad you brought that up because I hear all the time. People know I'm a Creighton fan. People think I hate Nebraska because of that. I don't. But I go to dramatically more Creighton games because it's closer, right? And I've been going to Creighton games my whole life. People give Creighton crap all the time for not being loud enough.
Yeah.
And how much louder the vault is and all that. I'm going to be honest. For a ranked, and maybe it was the circumstances, right?
It totally was.
They're coming off of a 6-game losing streak. They're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
It totally was.
And I don't go to a lot of games at the vault, so I don't.
Because they're very capable.
I know, and
that thing lit.
I've been there. The only other games I've been there for, I think, are Creighton, Nebraska games. So that's my only other experience with PBA. And I was a little disappointed with the crowd noise.
Come on.
I was. It was a ranked team. They're up most of the game. Nebraska's up most of the game. Like, I thought it would be a little more juice.
So you know what I think? Have to watch them.
I know.
That's exactly.
No, that's what they do.
That's how they play.
But which is why, how many times, every time we bring up Illinois, what's the one thing I say?
Well, you don't trust. You don't trust.
I don't trust Underwood.
Yeah.
That's why I don't trust Underwood, because they play like that a lot. And,
I mean, that's how they play.
And that was the epitome of the pitfalls of Illinois, right? How many times did Nebraska just have free lanes to the basket, whether it be on a back cut or an out of bounds play? Or
were you waiting for Illinois to shoot it better?
No. Well, so to be fair, I was with
after like what, 2 of 16?
Yeah, they're they're 1 of 15 to start, I think.
Yeah,
and then
the second made it 2 of 16.
They
That's why I said that.
finally started to shoot it a little better in the second half, but they end up 10 for 42. But here's the reason I wasn't necessarily expecting to. I'm with Evan, who's an Illinois fan, and he goes about.
We're actually switching locations.
What do you mean?
I may have to hit him up because I'm in Champaign tonight.
I thought you were in Chicago.
Same difference.
It's 2 hours apart.
Yeah, I get it.
It's not the same.
It's not really. It's not Champaign. We're staying at the. I think we're at the I Hotel.
Okay. But the ceremony in Champaign.
It's connected to the. No, it's connected. It's connected to the convention center.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we just have to walk to go see Christian
get his award.
Yes.
But he informed me, and I didn't realize this, over the last month of the season, Illinois is literally the worst 3-point shooting team in the country.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah.
I knew they'd struggled, and my goodness, did they struggle.
Okay, so thank goodness for Evan, because I was about to go in. I was.
On what?
Because I thought you were going to say it was more to do with
no
Illinois than Nebraska. So I was like, okay.
No, not at all.
Let me hear this dude out before because I watched Illinois quite a bit. So
yes.
I was.
No,
I'm
Illinois,
like, but that's exactly how they play.
Yes.
So if you were, and I was going to set you up.
A little more turnover.
So you have to, got to watch me, but I'm certainly on a Friday. I was like, oh, were you expecting them to make more threes? Because
No.
if you would have said yes, I'd
No.
have been like, well, if you'd watched them over the last month, damn it, Ravi,
No,
they haven't made any threes.
Yeah, they have not shot the ball well.
But then you would have come back, and I would have been like, oh, okay, I'll chill. You'd have been like that stopped anybody else that's played Nebraska in the last 6 games, considering they've converted 45% of their made threes against Nebraska.
I do think,
which is, by the way, the worst in the country.
Yeah, that's astounding. But I do think Illinois in general has more capable shooters than they've shown over the last month.
That's their shot selection.
Shot selection is really bad. And also, people undervalue this a lot in basketball. Even if you're open, the way you get open, I think a lot of times dictates how good the shot is, right? Because when you get open off of sort of disjointed offense, I think you miss way more shots. When there's sort of a
what set pieces did Illinois
None.
shock you as run? Yeah,
they don't run
It doesn't.
any.
It's
like, hey,
little
we've
dribble
got
handoff.
Kasparis, he's gonna try and create something. We've got Riley, he's gonna try and create something.
Hey, Riley could be tough though.
Dude, Riley's a baller.
He's nice.
Like he's like his game. He looks like one of those guys.
I do like him.
Whose game may age better in the NBA than it does in college.
Yeah.
Like he can create his shot. He's long. He can shoot over people. Like he's a tough shot maker. I don't know if that's like at some point he probably needs to make better shot selections.
Yeah. Well, he so a couple of weeks ago it was on a Saturday or Sunday. They were playing Michigan State early, and like they went to him exclusively because he had the good matchup because he's considerably bigger.
He's long.
He was
really
bigger
long.
than Michigan State's backcourt, but he's a good player. I was pleasantly surprised to see Nebraska still only shoot 18 free throws. Because I think I fast forwarded this morning through main plays because I was looking for I wanted to see the block that everybody was, real time on social media.
Oh,
they were getting on the officials, and I was like, it's
pretty clean.
That's fine, but it's a bang thing. It wasn't worth posting about repeatedly on social media, though.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see how egregious it was on the deal, and I think I saw a stat, and I may butcher it. I hope not, because again, I'm counting on my flipping memory here, but during the 6-game losing streak, Nebraska is only attempting 16 free throws a game. They were in the 20s before that. So immediately I thought, shoot, that's kind of what we were talking about.
Attacking the basket.
And being physical and the whole black beard, Polly want a cracker. Like, what does actually being tough mean? Like, say what it means out loud.
Yep.
I think that was Nate, right?
Yep.
Right. So, and they still only shot 18 free throws last night. Now they made 13 of them, but the guy that I wanted to be able to do that, if it's not going to be Bearcat, and I told you I'd wave the white flag on that. I just don't think he's interested in
doing that
and
being about that life.
Being physical down there. Even though he's so crafty, it's like, gosh, if I knew what you were doing half the time, I would really, really kind of want to ride with you.
Yeah. But
Bryce getting downhill and I felt being aggressive helps. Nebraska just has to figure out if Bryce is going to dribble the ball, how can he still score the way you want him to?
Here's what I liked about their game plan last night. How many combined threes did Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary shoot?
Not a ton.
2.
Yeah, not a ton.
Bryce Williams shot 2. Juwan Gary shot 0, which that's a good number for Juwan Gary.
That's
what's not a good number? Raleigh Wooster shooting 7.
Dribble.
We'll get more into this coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
will be back. We will be back. We will be back.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Don't forget, Supernovas fans, it is game day. Make sure you get to supernovas.com. If you don't already have your tickets, and you can get set up for tonight's match here at the CHI Health Center. Get those tickets at supernovas.com. Joining us on the show today, we've got our regulars, of course, Tim Verghese, 8 o'clock inside Nebraska. We're going to have Ryan Roberts.
Late edition.
From A to
Shane,
Z.
you could have gotten him Monday. You didn't have to get him this morning.
It's all right.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Did you feel guilty because you forgot?
I didn't forget.
It seems like you forgot.
Man.
I've just like I said,
That's a pet peeve when people just can't own it.
I'm just more concerned that you couldn't give that guy last night a hand.
I think he had enough going on his hands last night.
I mean, you could have, helped him out with some toilet paper or some paper towels or something. Just like you need help in there, bro.
Feel like I need to move on from this conversation.
Feel like Shane forgot. 8:45. We got Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports. He's down at the Senior Bowl. We'll talk some Senior Bowl practices with our guy Ryan Roberts. 9 o'clock. Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports NAP Preps, and of course our guy
Sautter back in the house. Do you like a dressed up Mike Sautter?
He does a fit pretty good.
Yeah, he takes pride in that.
Yeah, I appreciate it about him. Not everybody likes to get their look going. I appreciate that.
He takes pride in that.
And then we'll have, of course, our guy Matt Vrzal. No, Matty.
So
Matt Vrzal.
His guy, his guru extraordinaire, his buddy Mikey,
Mhm.
invited me to the home opener, Cubs home opener.
Oh, really?
I kind of felt honored. It's
That's pretty
such a
cool.
long-standing tradition amongst some elite fellas.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It was. It was.
You gonna go?
I don't know. It's April 4th. A lot can
A
happen.
lot going on between now and then.
So the only thing that I know for sure
Yeah.
is that in June I am going to see one of the Dodger Royals games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mitch Sherman's planted the seed, and
We were talking to him Wednesday.
JB's Tuesday. JB's gonna handle the rest, and I told him I'm gonna bring him a surprise guest that wants to go down too.
Who's that?
I'm not getting into that.
All right.
And I'm so dumb. I originally I'm not getting into it, but yeah. Which could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just like a one-day quickie.
Yeah, it'll be good. Kansas City's nice like that. You can make a little quick trip.
Yeah, the problem is, as I already talked myself out of some things,
Mhm.
because where I would like to stay is you can't really stay any place close to the ballpark.
Yeah.
That's worth a damn.
Yeah.
Which is part of the move,
Problem
not to
with-
move,
yeah.
renovate, But I do, if all else fails, the only good gates, which is, I know it's overrated, so don't save your tourists, save the gates talk. And the first Glacier Clinic that I ever went to, we stayed at a hotel across the street, which then turned into a Cocoa Keys, which then turned into, I don't know what it is now. It does not look tremendous across the street from the K.
Yeah.
And there's like a knockoff Sizzler across the street.
What's a knockoff Sizzler?
Just kind of what it says. Like,
So like
It's
it's,
not-
a fake Sizzler?
yeah, it's somewhere between Ponderosa and a Sizzler across the street from.
I'm unfamiliar with Ponderosa.
I forget you're 12.
I'm not
Shane.
12.
Do you remember Ponderosa?
No, because
You know
I probably-
Ponderosa,
because I-
Bonanza, Sizzler. you
Oh
know?
yeah, Bonanza. All that
I know
stuff.
Bonanza. I know
Ponderosa,
Sizzler.
yeah. Ponderosa, yeah.
Similar concept.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's like versions of
It's like
There's
it's what
versions
it,
that are
gi- it-
worse than
it gives
Sizzler?
it gives me Sizzler vibes when I see it.
Okay.
Now, granted, this was 7 months ago, so it could be something completely different. But you remember, I seem to have almost been in Kansas City every other weekend for a while.
Yeah, you like to spend some time in Kansas City.
I do.
So
My Fogo de Chao was there too.
somebody asked a question in the chat, and I had an immediate reaction, but I want to ask you.
Hey, don't be all soft now. You got any conviction in it?
Yes.
All right, then ask away, because if
So-
you're gonna let me sway you, I'm kicking you out.
Brandon asked, is Bryce Williams gonna play himself into being a late first rounder?
He could,
My thought was no.
because he's too small.
Well, Bryce Williams?
Yeah.
He's like
He's very, very slight,
He's
for the
slight.
way he's very, very slight
for the way he plays. My issue is
He will get knocked off the ball quite a bit.
he's pretty slight. His age isn't going to do him any favors.
Yeah,
Because he'll be 24 by the draft. I
hold
think.
that thought.
Yeah.
Just real quick, the rest of the thought.
Mhm.
Let me ask this real quick. Do you feel like with older guys that the NBA will be less apt with guys staying longer through this COVID stretch
Mhm.
and still being good players? Do you think the NBA is willing to overlook a couple of older guys?
I think so.
'Cause
Because
what do
you
you
saw
do-
it with
what do you do-
Baylor last year.
And what
Baylor
do you do?
Shireman,
Yeah, and what do you do with a guy like Broom
for
or
sure.
or Sears?
Guys that have been around for
Yeah.
Sears isn't an NBA player.
No, I know.
But I get what you're saying. Those guys have been around a long time. My issue with Bryce is a couple things. He
Late
gives
first round's probably pushing. He could be a second round guy.
he feels like a second round flyer, like mid second round flyer.
Flyer.
Well, yeah, like a guy where you're like, hey, I don't know. Because here's my problem with Bryce. I don't know what the one thing that he does at an elite level is.
Well, so here's the thing. He can score at all three levels, number one.
Sure.
Okay. Number two is, I wonder if he had the green light to change his temperament for the team. Like, would we see
A different
little
version of
different
him?
version?
Maybe. The version I see of him right now does not strike me as a late first round guy.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing about that is no one, I'm not going to say no one. I mean, Q Jacob sending me a message at about 2 today over my Anthony Davis take. Any part of Anthony Davis's collegiate game that led you to believe he was going to be this type of offensive player in the NBA?
No.
Okay.
No.
He's got it.
And we do see that.
Okay.
We do see that where Anthony Davis's thing was he's going to be an elite defender.
And because remember, he was like 1 of 8, and he famously went to Cal at half and was like, I know I suck offensively right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get every rebound and block every shot.
Yeah.
And he famously goes like 11, 11, and 11 or whatever he went. 11, 18.
He came out and he was going to be an elite defender. That was going to be his calling card. And you would take what you could get on the offensive end. He turned into a very good offensive player once he got to the NBA. His first couple years, he was literally the worst mid-range shooter in the league, became efficient in that area so that it wasn't an albatross. So I get it. It happens.
You know the unfunny thing about that Kentucky game?
What's that?
Go back and look at the year. I know exactly what I was doing. I was about 18 drinks in my misery because
2012.
That was at the end of the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know exactly what I was doing during that game. And I was like, God, I hate Kentucky and I hate Twins.
So the issue that I have with Bryce is, yes, he can score at 3 levels. He's not elite at scoring at any of the 3 levels. Like usually, especially with older guys, like this is why Baylor got drafted, was because you could.
By the way, how about him being in Bizarre World? He's too good for where he's playing. He's not quite.
Him and Trey Alexander are both too good for the G League, not quite good enough for the NBA.
He is torching that league.
I mean, Trey's averaging 30 a game. Literally 30 a game.
But how about in Summer League, how good Trey looked, though?
He did. And so you do have these guys kind of in between land, which means
Trey was old.
And yeah, Trey was old. Baylor was even older, right? But again, Trey's age cost him. And again, Trey and Bryce are actually pretty good corollaries. I know Bryce is taller, but they're pretty good corollaries because, again, you would say Trey could score at all 3 levels, but I would say he's not elite at scoring at any of the 3 levels.
So I think
and then Bryce isn't an elite ball handler to do
that's the thing.
That's going to be a problem.
He just gets knocked off. He's just not
strong enough with the ball.
Yeah, he's just not elite enough with his hands.
He's not elite enough with the ball, and he's not an elite passer. Like Baylor could go into the league and be like, I'm an elite passer.
So that I kind of disagree if you watch him coming out of Charlotte. Okay, go back. No, I'm dead serious. Okay. I told Jacob. I'm
not going to pretend like I watched him a lot at Charlotte.
Jacob just did another beauty with Omaha basketball. But I remember really vividly the one that he did on Bryce when he was coming out and he had all these cut-ups. I will say this. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I think context matters, though. In a team like Nebraska, who are you deferring to be an elite level passer?
Sure. That's totally fair.
And in the confines of the offense. So I'm not hung up on that.
I'm not either, but I'm just saying if I'm an NBA scout and I'm looking at, okay, what's the trait that he's got right now that makes me want to take a flyer on him in the first round or take a shot on him in the first round? Flyer's the wrong word for that. I don't see the elite trait.
All right.
Like the one elite trait.
Wouldn't fight you over that.
That's my issue with Bryce. Really nice college player. I think he's probably a little – I was having this discussion with one of the guys I was with last night. Probably a little underqualified to be a primary go-to scorer in college. Probably a little overqualified to be a 2. So he's sort of in this in-between land.
Yeah. Well, we act like he doesn't – what's he shoot from 3 right now? He's 37%.
Yeah, no, he's shooting it pretty well. But he doesn't – I don't know. I don't look at him and go, that's an elite shooter.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Pretty good mid-range game.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing, though. He doesn't take a lot of easy shots.
No, he doesn't. And because, again, he's probably an overqualified 2, he's forced into taking difficult primary scorer shots. And I don't know that he's –
I mean, he took some tough contested.
Well, especially in overtime last night, some of those mid-rangers that put the game away for Nebraska were really tough contested mid-rangers. And if he does make it as a professional basketball player, that's probably what's going to get him there.
Let me ask you something kind of funny. When Ulis had the little run out after the turnover and he gathered at like half court, who did you think was more apt to make the shot? Quinn Clark's dunk or Ulis on the layup?
Dude, Quinn Clark's dunk was nasty. I don't know how he didn't get moved on in the second round.
Dude, Quinn, I'm telling you.
That was rough.
Quinn is tough. But they play favorites.
Yeah, I mean, Harburg didn't even make a dunk in the first round and got moved on.
They play favorites.
Now his second dunk was pretty nice.
Yeah.
But I was like, come on. We're just going to do Quinn Clark like that?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here?
That's my dude. He said, I knew I should have went to wrestling. Yeah, go watch Tyson.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We've got our guy Tim Verghese coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're joined now by Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Oh, I think we're muted.
Am I muted? Are y'all muted?
This might be an us problem, Shane.
I don't know.
We had this with Brian yesterday.
Okay, I'll just call him.
All right, thank you. Sorry, Tim.
Oh, man. Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with our stream and the
Islands,
volume lately.
Islands in the stream. Hey, can you make an elite level salt water out of table salt? I don't think you can.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I did try. So I tried this. I think it's called Element
That is not elite.
electrolyte water.
And I used water out of the sink.
Yeah, it's probably going to be
I'm not that dude.
probably not. I'm just saying it's probably not going to be what you're looking for out of like an electrolyte mix there.
It's cold.
Cold is helpful. Cold is good.
That's all I care about.
The there's we've got some interesting comments we'll get to.
Dang, High Danger could hear him.
This happened yesterday with Brian. They could hear him. We can't. I don't know what's going on there.
It's an us thing.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right, TV. Are you there?
It's an us problem.
Yep. You got me?
Yeah, listen, we got a standard we try to uphold when we talk to you every week. And if it's not as good as it normally is, it's totally the phone. It is totally the phone. I'm just going to get that out there right now. Just going to blame it on the phone. Little Milli Vanilli. Blame it on the phone.
I thought we were going to go blame it on the alcohol.
No. Who sings that?
I don't know. Is that? I have no idea.
Okay.
That might be T-Pain.
It is. Good call. All right, TV, now that we wasted a good 38 seconds of your life that you will never get back, who would you have moved on to the second round of the dunk contest? Inquiring minds want to know. I mean, the heck with the basketball game.
I mean, I looking at some of the stuff, I thought Quinn Clark had a nice little performance.
Listen, I'm telling you, TV, I'm on record. I've said this from the jump, and it's not just because I spend a lot of time with him. If QC ever says to himself, this is absolutely what I want to do, and I'm pot committed, he's as good as it gets. He's a good route runner. He's long. He can high point balls. He's explosive. He's fast. He's a little young, and his body is one of those where I think he could look at a triple cheeseburger or a Frisco melt and he uses it up by blinking, right? He's just going to be one of those guys where it's hard for him to put on weight.
See, and I'm one of those guys, if I look at a triple cheeseburger, I gain 4 pounds. So we're a little different there.
He just has one of those. He was over one time, TV. He left at like 11 to get donuts. And I'm like, Quinn, it's 11. There's nothing fresh. I got that sweet. I got a sweet tooth, Coach. It's like I'm just telling. Like I'm a huge fan. I think you're spot on there.
Yeah. I'm excited to see kind of his continued development, especially I think in the room with guys that kind of look like him and you know kind of move like him, and he kind of learns. I mean, I think it's a cool opportunity for a lot of these young receivers in particular to learn from Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair, and now Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter, and
even Barney to some degree, who's a really good practice player.
But for sure.
So Tim, I'm curious with a guy like Quinn Clark, because obviously they bring in a ton of guys into that wide receiver room from the transfer portal. What do you think the development looks like for those guys that were recruited over the last year or so as freshmen, kind of as developmental type guys? Like, what does that path look like now that there's older guys in the room to contribute right away? Does that help them by giving them a little bit more runway?
I think it depends on the player, but like for some, I think, it depends on how you look at it and your personal like outreach. I think you have a guy in the teal shorts reading the room now that has this ability to develop, that has this proven ability to develop, and is going to take the development of these young receivers pretty seriously. But on the flip side, you have receivers, that maybe, wanted an opportunity and thought this would be the spring for them to step up into a starting role. Now those opportunities have kind of diminished, or they're going to have to fight for more limited opportunities. So it ultimately comes down to the player. I think if there are like a Quinn Clark or like a Keelan Smith, if they take this opportunity to kind of sit and develop, they'll be all the better for it in 2026 and 2027 and beyond, because I think this is a good opportunity for them to really get some work and not have to deal with the pressure of, okay, I need to learn the playbook so if in case I get thrown out into the fire on Saturday, I'm ready to go. Like, there's not that expectation anymore. It's fighting kind of for limited reps, but more than anything, it's working to just develop behind the scenes and set yourself up for future success.
So, okay, from a competitive standpoint, and we talk about this all the time with the 105, and we talk body types, we talk skill sets. Do you think we're so reluctant to talk about like actual competitive stamina because we don't really know the guys like that? Because actually, as I'm listening to you process through the room and body types, I actually think it's going to be more about the ability of who can hang in there the longest. Like that, there's like this component of this 105 for where this team is in their roster, where that is going to be paramount.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. And I think part of it is just not knowing, but like it's something like for me personally, I'm trying to do a better job of recognizing at the high school level, okay, how competitive is this guy?
That's smart.
How much does he care about football? And, you know, like how much does he want to win? Like how much is he willing to battle? What is he willing to do for his team? Like, you know, I respect guys that at the high school level are playing both sides of the ball, that are, you know, like that have that mentality of wanting to be the first guy. Like even when a guy reaches out to me, I was just having a conversation with somebody about it this week. You know, I think it's a little silly when recruits that have multiple offers, committable offers, or are committed somewhere complain about rankings, because it's like your mission's accomplished. You have schools that want you. Like the ranking doesn't ultimately matter. But at the same time, I can respect that competitiveness to say, hey, what do I need to do better? How am I not, you know, a 4-star? How am I not a 5-star? Like I respect that competitiveness at the same time, because I think that's an important thing to have in this day and age when, like you mentioned, there's a 105 limit and all of that. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, Tim. So I'm glad you brought up what you've been looking for in terms of competitiveness.
It's key
in high school, guys, because that's one of the hardest things to identify. And I think, I'll be honest, man, if you can figure out how to do it, you're going to make way more money than all of us combined, because it is, I've been trying to do, listen, I know basketball is different than football.
Not really.
But I was trying to do that for a decade, looking for college basketball players. And it is so hard to see who genuinely gives a crap about what they're doing and who doesn't just like to go out and ball. Like, it's so hard to find the guys that are as competitive on Sunday through Thursday as they are on Friday nights or Saturday nights. Like, is there, as you're going through this, are there some things that kind of key you off while you're watching them? Because, man, I've gone to practices, I've gone to 6 a.m. workouts, I watch games, and it still felt like a coin flip to me.
Yeah, it for me, part of it has been going to practices. Like I've kind of recognized, you know, from like at the high school level, specifically in Texas, going out to practices and seeing how certain guys practice. That was a big thing for me, like kind of talking to their coaches, kind of figuring out who likes it, who, you know what I mean? Like, and there's that element of it. I don't think there's a consistent hit rate when you're gauging something that, you know, isn't tangible like competitiveness. Because the other part of this too is for some guys, and I've seen this time and time again, where at the high school level, it doesn't really click. It kind of comes naturally to them. And then at some point in college, the light turns on. They're like, oh, I need to start competing. I need to start putting in this extra effort because everyone around me is also an elite athlete. Like sometimes the light clicks on a little later than it does with other guys. But sometimes, you know, it's a guy that is uber competitive, checks all these boxes. And then a year or two into college, hey, something happened in their life. Their priorities change. They're not the same competitive person they once were. So it's not 100% hit rate, but I think practice habits are something that I look for. I look for, again, willingness to compete on both sides of the ball, willingness to compete in other sports. And then how do you talk about football? Like when I talk to you about football, can you engage with me about football? Or do you care? Do you watch the sport? Do you watch other people? Okay, I'll give you a perfect example.
I got
Henderson.
Well, I was gonna say I got one right off the top. I got one. No, it's your segment, but you know who's exactly like. Let me go. You go first.
So for me, it was Keyshawn Henderson. He won MVP at the All-American Bowl a couple of weeks ago. He's an underclassman, 2026, going to Houston. This kid played receiver as a freshman in high school, played safety on the 7-on-7 circuit, and now is like being recruited and is seen as a quarterback. He won MVP for playing quarterback in the All-American Bowl. Before the game, talking to him about the room he's got, we were like, hey, just like, who are your favorite receivers to throw with this week? And down the list, from receivers to tight ends to running backs, he's giving you like a complete scouting report about what each guy does well, what he's liked about working with each guy through the week, and, you know, like how he plans to work with those guys in the game. Like, that's after 4 practices.
So, Tim, it's funny because as we're having this conversation, there's a guy that you and I have talked about and that DB and I have talked about quite a bit that I haven't been in love with his game tape, but something that he tells me about Christian Jones all the time.
I was just going to bring him up.
Is that he's never missed a rep, right? Never missed a practice, never missed a rep. And that's the
funny.
thing where I sit here and I go, okay, would I have loved for him to jump off the page a little bit more on his tape? Yes. But the fact that he's never missed a rep in practice in his entire high school career, that makes me go, he's got a shot, right? Even if I'm like, I would have loved to see just like and part of that's the ranking too, right? Where I go, okay, if he's a 3-star instead of a 4-star, I'm like, ooh, I like the frame. I like his competitiveness. I feel okay about it, right? But the fact that he gets that 4-star by his name and he wins a Butkus Award and is an All-American and things like that, I go, I'd kind of like to see him jump off the page a little bit more. But when I hear DB tell me, and he would know because he hasn't missed a practice either, he goes, hey, this guy's never missed a rep in high school. I go, okay, that guy's got a shot.
Before you go, Tim, give you the floor, just yesterday, I'm talking to CJ. This is in length. It's just funny you used the analogy you did. So now keep in mind, he's only been there since last Monday. We were talking about his, pushing through workouts and kind of being sore last week and how he feels better. And he's already critiquing what I would call this competitive stamina, right? You're not slamming guys, but you're comparing and contrasting who you would play the long game with to see who can hang in there the longest, right? We would talk about, well, these kind of workout habits, or this guy's kind of off to a little bit of a slow start because of this, or I like this because this is what I'm used to, or, if I can make 6 days 7 and 7 days 8, I know I can make 9 and 10. Like where he's already going to that Rolodex in his head of, I know these guys run my team. I'm competing with them, but I'm also competing against them too. Like, I think that's just part of the process he enjoys. And it helps him when you do want to see the 10-8 at then 209 pounds or the more tackles for losses or the more splash plays. Because sometimes I want to see that too. But he's never going to be a 6 either. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
right
as he continues to mature, like, I'll take the competitive stamina side.
For sure. And the cool thing about that is, again, like, being able to hold, in his head, holding guys and having that standard, that quickly allows you to develop into a leader where, hey, just by the fact that you're leading by example first and foremost, down the line, you're able to hold everyone accountable because in your head, you already have it.
And what did you say when you were watching him at the All-American Bowl, right? It was nothing eye-popping. You said, and I remember the phrasing. You said, he continues to check boxes. Because what I've heard throughout his whole career is, yeah, but, or I thought he was supposed to be this. And it's kind of what Ravi said. Like, you think stars and frame, and so you have this thing built in what you want to see. But over time, it's kind of his consistency. Like, even when you watch tape and we're grading it, it's like, I thought this was happening during the course of the game, but, he showed up again. He showed up again. He's around the ball again. He's around the ball again. Like, sometimes guys are just like that because of, it's all encompassing, but what I would call competitive stamina.
Right.
They're just hard to get rid of.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they want to be there. They always want to be there,
Yeah. Yeah. I that's going to be part of it.
It's funny, Tim, because you and I were talking about, I think this was at the press box at Memorial Stadium before a game. And I go, I wish that Christian Jones had some more plays that look like Pierce Mooberry, where you see that guy flying downhill and just crushes people. But here's the thing I don't know about Pierce, because I haven't talked to his coaches or anything. I would imagine he seems like a hyper competitive guy, but I don't know.
Does he do it
Does he do it every single rep the way that I know Christian does? Where it's like, okay, maybe I like what I see on film a little bit better from Pierce. And this is exactly what you're talking about the competitiveness, right?
It's also what makes recruiting hard, though, right, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, again, I'll say this too, like for guys like, Pierce and Caden, I think for them, the fact that both those guys play both sides of the ball, despite even as seniors, like when, hey, okay, our recruitment's done, we're just trying to preserve ourselves for college. Both of them risked injuries and dealt with injuries as seniors, but play both sides of the ball, wanted to, like, we're willing to adapt to a new offensive scheme. Like, we're willing to do all of these things that they didn't necessarily need to do as seniors because, for them, their mission was accomplished. They were both committed to D1 universities. They had everything that taken care of that they needed to, but they still kept going out there. They still took that Millard South game personally. They still took, tried to make a run at the playoffs. They still tried to accomplish as much as they could as seniors, despite injuries and all these things, because they're both competitive individuals. I think Nebraska's done a really good job in this 25 cycle of, hey, it's not 100%. It's not a consistent hit rate or a perfect 100% hit rate in this class. But for the most part, you found guys with this competitive ability and this ability to, like you're saying, to just keep coming, to stick around, to find ways to play. And I think what helps about this is when you're Matt Rule, when you have a 105 roster limit and you're trying to figure out who to cut, the guys that are competitive are going to find ways to stick on that 105, whether that's special teams, whatever that is, they're going to find ways to stick on that 105.
Yeah, he's not in Idaho yesterday if he's not looking for competitiveness. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way that it goes. TV, let me ask you something about so we're talking about this transformation with the roster and the way it looks now in terms of numbers. How much of this upcoming spring will be an anomaly versus how you think this will be how Nebraska will conduct business going forward when it comes to their off seasons?
Well, I think this is going to end up being an anomaly just because I think it's going to be more Yeah, because it's going to be more cutthroat than it will be in future years. Like, I think there are going to be, next year, for example, I think they're going to be one closer to the 105 limit where, okay, you add some guys to the portal and through high school recruiting. And yeah, they probably will maybe have to cull the roster again next year and maybe take away, 5 to 10 guys off the roster before they readjust. But it's not going to be like this year where you have to cut like 20 plus guys, and it's not going to be this thing where, okay, every single practice, there's pressure on you to perform to this standard. Otherwise, you risk being the forgotten man. And then that's not to say that the competitive element of this is going to go away after this year. I just think this year in particular, it's going to be competitive to a level where it's really going to test how much some of these guys love football.
Tim, is that like a blessing in disguise for Nebraska? Like, could that forced competitiveness low-key be the thing that pushes them over the hump? Because you just don't have room to carry guys that aren't like that anymore.
Right. No, definitely. I think it ultimately could be a better thing, but it ultimately could be one of those things that you have to really toe this line very carefully. And I think so far, just talking to people, I think Nebraska's done a really good job of towing this line and keeping everybody, like in the know and relatively understanding of their position. But there is this level of, hey, distrust could potentially form over, okay, I've been told I'm safe, but every time we're out there on the field, it doesn't feel like I'm safe, and so there is this element where, okay, there is this world where, guys are having an eye over their shoulder and an eye over the back to see who's coming for them, to see, are they safe on the roster? I think Nebraska is going to ultimately get through this and be better for it long term, but you do have to toe this line a little.
That's funny. I just was listening to, it must have been on accident, but I was listening to Pat McAfee yesterday, and he was talking about the fear of getting cut and guys that he was always around that, and he used Adam Vinatieri as an example. And he's like, this guy would think he was gonna get cut like every day, and I'm like, you're delusional. But he said it was part of the delusion that keeps guys
the fire,
that keeps guys like that. So I guess the balance would be, and LP was a lot like this, right? Like Lawrence was a guy, you guys, who was, even though he was as talented as he was, it had never been easy. So he never wanted
felt
it
secure.
easy. He was never secure, right? And it's just interesting. Like when your best players are like that,
it forces everybody else to be
it
like that.
It just gives you a chance. Yeah. I want to do this exercise, Tim, and I don't know how long your Rolodex goes back. I know you've covered so many teams, but I'm just curious in doing like an anecdotal kind of study where we first felt like Nebraska's best players weren't their hardest workers. And just to see what the correlation was in success and lack of success from the program across as a whole. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think at the end of the day, we'll find some not so coincidental coincidences. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, I think part of this too is the coaching staff and what the coaching staff demands. For me, I wasn't covering the program, for example, but like the stories you sometimes hear from the Riley era at times, and I was here for the Scott Frost era, and I had an outside eye kind of in, and there were times under both of those where
like the JD Spielman stuff, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I don't know if these guys, like certain guys, like, hey, this is their best player, but I don't know if he necessarily loves football. Like I'll say this, like one that comes to mind for me, I feel like the light had to come on for Lamar Jackson under Travis Fisher.
Interesting.
That's
a good one.
That's
a good one.
DB, when you said that, when I'm thinking back and I go, okay, the last time I feel like their best player may have been their hardest worker, I went Rex Burkhead.
No, Amir.
Okay. Amir was after that. Amir was after. So Amir. But that's probably the last time. That's a decade ago.
You think? I'm telling you, Tim. And you know what this started? And this is not this is totally, it's fair but not fair to Dylan. I'm watching Dylan kind of do his thing, and I'm thinking of the Chiefs locker room and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm okay with all of that as long as he still grinds. Like his players, his teammates, I think need to believe that this guy's going to lay it on the line all the time for all the other stuff to still work. Because over time, if he doesn't continue to develop, it eventually will eat at him.
It'll come up.
It will reveal itself. That's where this whole thing started.
For sure, yeah, and I think Dylan, that's why he started his career the way he did, is kind of leading by example first and doing the right things behind the scenes before naturally kind of ascending into that leadership role where, hey, he is kind of the face of the program. And I think people recognize that. Ty Robinson just talked about that.
Yeah, in his interview. Yep. Tim, we appreciate the time. As always, great stuff. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, TV.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we had a great conversation with Tim Verghese here just a minute ago.
Might have gotten better off air.
It might have. We were having a discussion about guys.
Tim's fault.
It is Tim's fault, which is a good thing. About guys and their competitive endurance, but also what it needs to look like for your best player.
You morphed it into Bryce Williams. I was talking about Dylan Raiola. We talked about old heads. You know, like I said this. Like, I just don't think Tommy Hill could be your best player. I don't think Tommy Hill could be your best player,
even if he's maybe one of your more talented players.
Yeah, and you're functioning at a high level. Yeah. I just don't.
Because here's the thing that people don't talk about with guys that are your best players.
The Lamar Jackson was really
that's a great pull.
Because it took guys a while to come around.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was pushback. There were side eyes and stuff when JD didn't have to. And some of it isn't the player's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're going to do what they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if you could win at a high level if JD Smillman was going to be your best player. He's uber talented.
Yes. Because it's not a talent issue, right?
But
there is I call it I just came up with this just now. I call it kind of the Scottie Pippen dilemma, right? Scottie Pippen incredibly talented. Love Scottie Pippen. Not saying he wasn't a hard worker, but Michael Jordan being a psycho allows Scottie Pippen to be Scottie Pippen, right? Like having your best player be a full-on, like the most competitive, the hardest working, whatever, often allows other talented guys. It'll raise their level of competitiveness and it'll raise their work ethic. But if it doesn't come naturally to them, it allows them to succeed.
Yeah, like that's why I started with Raiola when I said, if you're most gifted if one of your physically most gifted players, the natural leader, if he got in like elite level fitness, just imagine what that would do for the guys around him.
Yeah.
So you get the charisma, you get the know-how, you get the knowledge, you get the talent,
and then you see
the
work ethic.
That him, I was going to call him over break, and I did, but I wasn't going to have enough time to explain kind of where I was going with this, because at first it could sound offensive, but I don't think Tommy really took flight as a guy.
Frazier?
Yes.
Yeah.
For multiple weeks.
Sure.
Right?
And he didn't start right away.
For multiple weeks. They're early on, and he'll tell you. Like, there were the dehydration issues, and sometimes they would they put a towel around him, or they would wet him down. Like, it was just the practice. They were brutal.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that.
Right.
But what I'm saying was when you see that
out of a guy that
and
should end up being your best player,
and you see other guys that are like won't go take a bathroom break and they'll go poop in the grass because they don't want to. No,
they don't want to miss reps.
They don't want to miss reps.
Yeah, I know.
It was far.
It sounds funny.
Right? It was far when you're out there on the.
Yeah. So you're doing whatever you have to do not to miss reps.
So
right,
people will just naturally gravitate towards that. But over time, as he pays a price, and then it's like, oh shoot, this dude's really good and he's tough.
Here's a good example of this, right? So by the end of it, so that's how it started.
Yeah.
By the end of it, his toughness and competitiveness is probably what won him the job over Brook.
Everybody's favorite attribute.
Right?
That's funny. Yeah, 100%.
Like, that was the difference
100%.
between him and Brook at the end of the day.
100%.
Was people believed in his toughness and competitiveness.
But I bet, yeah, you're right. It didn't start like that.
And it started dramatically different, where you're kind of like, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it doesn't have to be one or the other. I will say that's probably an outlier in sense of if you don't see it from a guy early, I don't feel like it often develops. Usually guys are like that or they're not.
I'll give you another one.
What's that?
I think AG was like that.
Come on.
I think he progressively learned to pay a price.
Sure. But was it because that standard had been set already in the room?
You'd probably have to ask him, but I would say, yeah.
That probably has a factor, right?
Yeah.
It's harder when you're on the front end of it. Like, it's harder for Dylan because he has to set the standard, not meet the standard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I bet you AG is a guy like uber talented.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, 100%.
I bet you he's a guy that would tell you he would consider toughness a skill. Like, he got tougher.
You can develop it.
He got tougher.
I think you can develop it.
People argue that all the time.
But, man, if you're not wired that way even a little bit to start, I don't know if you, like, it might be a skill.
I mean, he became a bell cow in a brutal weather place.
Yeah.
And did it over and over and over again. My man could run counter and G sweep, power.
You talking about here
Packer,
or at Green Bay?
Green Bay.
I believe still their all-time leading rusher, right?
Right.
I think.
But different than when in Seattle.
Yes. Yeah.
Different 8 weeks into the program than he was 8 days into the program at Nebraska. Like,
sure.
I don't know. Like, I say all this to say I believe now more than ever that I would start with one of my best players and his development off the field and attacking the offseason is the most important in terms of development.
So I had this conversation with Jake, my guy that coaches down in Carolina.
Yeah.
Because he's been
Bruins Jake?
Yep. So he's been, I've been helping him kind of put together his rosters and figure out what he's looking for and things like that. And I think this is true at certain Division I levels, but especially at the NAI level, I tell him all the time, you're going to have to give up something, right? Because if they were perfect players, they wouldn't be playing NAI ball. That's just what it is, whether it's academics, whether it's like great skill, not enough size, great size, not enough skill, whatever it is, you're giving up something. That's why they're at your level. Okay. That's not a diss. That's just the truth. And so I go, you have to figure out what thing you're okay being the yeah, but. Like, what is that person's yeah, but? What he figured out this year is he needs guys, because he found a bunch of skilled guys this year, guys that had good size, good athleticism, pretty good kids. His yeah, but was, man, these guys don't care that much. They just don't care that much about, and not even like they liked basketball, but they're kind of like let's just go ball.
I think all coaches have to rank non-negotiables.
100%.
I think you have to slate non-negotiables.
It is more dramatic at certain levels, right? Because you're going to be dealt those.
Yeah.
Like Ohio State gets to deal with fewer non-negotiables.
Well, it's still relative.
But there are still things, right?
Well, it's relative to what your culture can bear.
For sure.
So Ohio State isn't any different than Western Kentucky.
Sure.
It's just relative to what your culture can bear.
And so I go, okay, so we learned this year, I go, okay, so the thing that you cannot bear, you can deal with a guy that you can deal with having an undersized 5. Maybe you got to trot a guy out there that's 6'4" instead of 6'8". Maybe you can deal with a point guard that got a great handle. Jump shot leaves a little bit to be desired. What you can't deal with as a coach, because you'll want to quit, is guys that aren't competitive enough. So that's the non-negotiable now. And now that you know that,
but some guy like, so I think ideally where Coach Rule would like this culture is it would weed that out.
For sure.
It weeds it out naturally.
And that's kind of what I was asking Tim about.
That's where the MAC games start. That's where picking different teams starts. That's where, you may think this guy's really good at this, but you also need a guy that's going to show up on time. You also need a guy that's going
to get points for all the other stuff.
So the more well-rounded the culture is, the more it weeds itself out.
That's why I think this 105 could be a blessing in disguise, because you're forced to weed guys out one way or the other. And if you're forced to weed guys out, I know what kind of guys Coach Rule is going to ride with. Like, I feel like I do.
Yeah. And
not only that, but the guys that are left, because Tim talked about the pressure of having to perform every day. That's a good thing.
Oh, it's
because
it's
if you have to have the pressure of performing every day in practice, then what do you care if you're down 3 at Iowa?
But full disclosure, though, it's much easier to say than it is to do.
Oh, it's not for everybody.
Because you're sitting next to one of the most competitive people on the planet.
I know. You're a little bit of a nut job.
But I'm telling you, guess where the last place I would pick to go if I had to relive a portion of my life?
Where's that?
It would be college, where I arguably had my most success. It would be the last place that I would pick.
Because it was a fight every day.
Every single day.
Did that make you better?
Sure.
But you hated it at the time.
Oh, yeah.
But it made, it made you better.
Yeah. So we can sit here and say it like,
it's not easy.
But I'm just telling you.
And I'm glad I don't have to do it.
That was a place where you had to be on all the time, every day, or you literally got hurt.
Yeah.
So, like, it was tough.
Being on every day is not easy.
No.
It's not easy. But if you can survive it.
I wonder what kind of rigor you can set with only 105. I'm fascinated.
If you can survive it, though, I bet you'll win more football games.
I'm fascinated.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports. He's been at the Senior Bowl. We'll catch up with him, see what some of the Nebraska guys are doing down there here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're joined now by Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports. He's also a scout for the College Gridiron Showcase. Ryan, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
Oh, short notice, man. We appreciate you. My producer, I feel bad. He kind of panicked. I'd been asking for you all week, and I just on a humbug during the break, I was like, hey, did you get a hold of Ryan this week? And he's like, hey, we got him at 8:43. And I was like, Shane, we didn't have to grab him this morning. but I appreciate you just being able to hop on with us. I know your elbows deep.
Oh, no worries at all. This is my favorite time of the year. So anytime I get to kind of talk out some of my thoughts and just kind of general, feelings on the draft class and everything, I always appreciate you guys having me on for sure.
So I'm glad we got you because I know you're paying a ton of attention to the Senior Bowl and everything like that. Before we jump too much into that, I do want to ask you sort of a general draft class question that I asked DB earlier, because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at these mock drafts and things like that, and I go, okay, I see people having Travis Hunter going 2 to Cleveland, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, Cleveland's got a decent roster. I don't think it's a bad roster. They do have a bad quarterback situation. If I'm Cleveland, at what point do I have to say, hey, I got to try and get one of these John's money versus I'm going to take Travis Hunter, who I'm not positive. I know some people think he's both the best wideout and the best corner. I'm not positive
I don't think he's either.
And I'm trying to figure out the balance of how good is my roster versus how good are these quarterbacks if I'm Cleveland.
It's a great question. I honestly think Travis Hunter's a little bit of a luxury at number 2, to be honest with you. So
that's
I think we
kind of what I think.
Yeah. I think the only train of thought that I have as far as, because I generally right now, I'm not 100% sure how Cleveland feels about either one of these quarterbacks. I don't. Because they're so different, right? Like Shedeur Sanders is more of your in structure, ball gets out pretty fast, maybe doesn't have great tools, but like he's a little bit more consistent, while Cam Ward's the gunslinger, right? Like he's going to make some incredible plays, but then there's going to be some throws and some decisions that just kind of make you want to pull your hair out. So it's a fascinating conversation just between the two of them. I think that for me, I would love to know how Cleveland truly feels about them, because there is a conversation to be had of, is a bridge to 2026 a better idea? It really just comes down to how do they feel about those guys. For me, the only way that I'm passing on a quarterback, though, because I agree with you in the sense of you got to keep taking swings, right? Like if you don't keep taking swings, then you're never going to even take a chance, right? Like it's the, how many shots you're going to miss all the shots that you don't take type of quote, right? At the end of the day. So the only thing that I would do, though, is if I didn't believe in either one of the quarterbacks, I would, if there was an Abdul Carter from Penn State, even a Mason Graham from Michigan, more of a high impact position that I think could just change a little bit of the formula of your team from a toughness perspective, from a dynamic ability, and from a position, honestly, that I just think that matters a little bit more, especially in the edge rusher spot. I'm still kind of dreaming of Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett together. Like that would be a pretty terrifying thing for opposing quarterbacks. So that would be my only thought process. I don't mind them taking a quarterback, but like some people I know that cover Cleveland Browns, and this is more from the media side of things, there seems to be a lot of thoughts out there that Cleveland is not going to take a quarterback just to take a quarterback. Like they're going to keep their options open. But I do agree with you in the sense of I do think Travis Hunter is a little bit of a luxury in that spot. If I'm Cleveland, I'm either taking a quarterback or I'm taking someone that can affect the quarterback. Like that's my only two trains of thought, honestly, in this spot.
Okay, so Ryan, if you like a receiver, if Hunter isn't your best receiver in the draft and he's not your best DB, what's the competing phenomenon or the carrot that says you would take him before either one of those other two positions?
Well, I think the thought process is this, and it's a little bit of a galaxy brain type of thing, but like it actually is, I think has some like legitimacy to it, is that the NFL draft, even guys that are assumed to be can't miss prospects, we know that most players can miss because situation either unlocks potential or it completely cripples potential. I mean, we see it all the time. And I think that when you're talking about a player that has plus starter upside, potential Pro Bowl upside on either side of the ball, your margin for error like widens, right? Because if Travis Hunter, even if he doesn't end up being the best wide receiver in the 2025 NFL draft, even if he doesn't become the best corner in the 2025 NFL draft, it's pretty safe bet that he's going to be a good player at least one of those spots, right? And then maybe in the best world, he's a really good starting corner that can also give you some reps on wide receiver when you need him. I don't think it's going to be nearly a full-time capacity, but like maybe he's a guy that can go in at wide receiver if he's your starting corner on just, 2-minute drills or some high leverage situations, like that type of thing. So I think the floor of Travis Hunter is really appealing because he has a wider net, right? Like he has two different positions that he does excel at. And I think that when you're talking about the stable of this draft is not a great one up top.
Yep.
It's not. I mean, I just talked to somebody a scout in the NFL that I trust very well that, their team only has like 9 first-round draft grades right now. And that's, usually we're at least like 13, 14, 15, like somewhere in that ballpark, you know what I mean? Sometimes in the high teens, but more often you're kind of in that middle teen range. And I think that this class is just generally speaking a little bit lackluster up top outside of like Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, like those types of guys. So I think you're just trying to strengthen your margin for error a little bit and you're trying to get a good football player. And I think that there's a very good chance that Travis Hunter at least becomes that.
Ryan, let me ask you about, I'm going to go Nebraska specific here for a second, just because he's come up a couple of times this morning already in other capacities. But give me your thoughts on Tommy Hill as you kind of watch the struggles that he's had over camp. And I was a little surprised, just full on Nebraska dork covering these guys. The 210, that weight interested me a little bit as a guy that never enjoyed being much over 200. What are you seeing with Tommy Hill?
I think it was destined for me to be on this morning, guys, because I literally had a conversation about Tommy Hill yesterday with a scout. I'm like, because he said a little bit of the same thing that you just said. It's like he looks like he's running in mud this week a little bit, right? Like it looks like he doesn't have any makeup speed. It looks like he is not able to just kind of cut off, just tight windows. Like he looks slow. Like he looks like he's running in mud. Yeah. And my first impulse I said, was like, why is he 210 pounds? Like, I don't understand. Like, why do you need to be that heavy? You're a big physical corner if you are 6 foot, 200 pounds. Like, you don't need to be 210. I don't know why he's at that weight. It's been a struggle. I mean, there was even one rep against Higgins from Iowa State, who's a good receiver, right? He's like a 6'4", 215-pound receiver who wins a lot more off of route, tempo, and consistency, and then obviously his big catch point frame. Like he can play the back shoulder, that type of thing. But there was one rep where he just ran a simple go route and he left Tommy in the dust. And Higgins is going to run like 4.55 probably. Like he's not a fast guy. And so Tommy Hill looks slow. He looks sluggish. I don't know if he put on weight to show that he can play inside at some safety at times, because like he was always a tough, like tenacious corner to me at Nebraska. Like he can put his hands on you. So maybe he's trying to sell himself as a guy that can play a couple different spots in the back end. Not really sure about it, but like, I hate calling guys losers during these types of weeks because that is a little bit overstated, winners and losers. This is more like a verification process most of the time at these events, but he certainly hasn't helped himself. Like he hasn't, he has looked lackluster. He has not looked fast. The recovery speed is not there. So if I had any recommendation for Tommy, it would be, let's cut that weight and get you down to combine, and hopefully you run really well and you test well and you look better in the field drills, because unfortunately it's just not been a good showing in Mobile.
What have you thought about Ty at that size and his explosiveness at the point of attack?
I think Ty has been good in team drills. I don't think he's just naturally a guy that is going to ever excel in one-on-ones, because I just don't think that's his game, right? Like he's more of a guy that at Nebraska, with the big nose tackle that they have, that I'm not even going to pronounce his name because I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong.
Nash.
Yeah.
Let's go with Nash.
Those guys inside are physical, good off the line of scrimmage as far as the first step, but they do a lot of the dirty work, man. Like they really do. They leave linebackers uncovered and they play a gap and a half. Like they do a lot of that dirty work stuff. So I'm not shocked that like Robinson wasn't great in the one-on-one pass rush drills, because it's just not really what he's asked to do. I mean, like he's a clean athlete. I think he moves pretty well, but when the team drills and those like 9-on-7s and inside run, like that type of stuff, I think he's looked pretty good. For me, like Robinson's going to be a kid that's going to be drafted on day 3. And I think he's going to play in the NFL for a pretty long time. He's going to be a guy that's more consistent on the early downs, the obvious running situations, but I'm not shocked, because this is the unfortunate part of this industry is some people, a lot of people actually, will just hyper-focus on the one-on-ones. Yeah. And, like, I get it, right? It's fun. It's cool. You isolate traits. Like, it's fun. But at the end of the day, the scouts are going back and they're watching a lot more of the 9-on-7, the team, like those types of things, because that's football, right? Like, you are one-on-one in a lot of capacities at times, but there's a lot of times, especially as a defensive tackle, where you're not one-on-one. You need to be able to work through chaos. You need to be able to angle against double teams. You need to do those little things. And I think Ty does those things well. I just don't think that he's built necessarily to be a winner, quote unquote, during one-on-one pass rush drills.
Who's wide receiver 1?
I think it's Luther Burden for me. I think there's a fascinating conversation between him and Tedoroa McMillan out of Arizona. They're very different. Luther is much more, I keep comparing him to Golden Tate. Like that's who I see when I watch him play. I think he's explosive. I think he can work after the catch. I think he plays his best ball from the slot, but I do think he's a lot tougher than he looks, right? Like you would kind of just look at a kid that's probably going to be that guy, and the guy that's not going to work at the catch point. But then he does have some toughness. Like you'll see him elevate, you'll see him fight through traffic. Tedoroa is the complete opposite. I mean, that kid's going to be 6'4 plus. He's going to be 215 pounds. He is your catch point dynamo, back shoulder guy. But then he's not incredibly explosive. Like, I don't think he's going to create like a ton of big plays down the field. So I think it's a fascinating conversation. I just, in today's game, with how we want to manufacture and create and then manipulate space at such a high level, I value Luther Burden a little bit more. And then honestly, like in the scouting world, you kind of learn from past mistakes and kind of the evolution of an evaluator. And a lot of these catch point guys have been some of my biggest misses. I mean, like it really has, like Laquan Treadwell and those types of guys, right? Where I'm like, oh, I don't care if he can't separate well. He's so good in the air. But then in the NFL, windows get tighter. They get smaller. So that winning at the catch point is just it's not incredibly translatable when you can't win in in another area, at least one other area, maybe two other areas. So I kind of struggle with Tetairoa McMillan. I like him, but I don't love him. I think Luther Burden's game kind of translates a little better than the NFL, in my opinion.
Fantastic as always.
Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports. Make sure you keep that cell phone number saved from Shane here, because we'll be calling Combine. We'll be calling for NFL Draft. So we'll talk to you again soon, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports and NAB Preps. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on?
Mute.
I think we got it again.
I hope not. He usually has his buttons right. Try it again, Mike.
What do you want me to do?
Yep, I think it's we got another problem here, Shane.
Okay, I'll call him.
Hey, just call him, but see if we can still look at him like we do Verz.
Yeah, Mike.
We'll leave him on the video.
Stay in the stream here,
Okay.
Mike. But we're gonna call you on the phone. We'll start with Nebraska basketball here in a second when we get a hold of Sautter, because I do. There was some stuff. There's some meat left on that bone I want to talk about from the game last night. Both
Maze, weird. I can hear him. Sean, I can hear him.
Yeah, everybody can hear him.
It's
except
gotta
us.
be. It's gotta be us.
It's literally
It's
just
Shane's
us. I don't know what's happening. We're 0 for 3 today.
Bobby Digital. Bobby Digits.
We
Bobby can hear him.
got Bobby Digits. There we go. No, I think there's some interesting things.
My man's holding the phone like he's with the feds.
He's like Schefter. He's getting a tip right now.
This is like Mike Jerome Bauer, 24.
I think that's Jack.
Was it Jack?
Yeah.
All right. So now you got to turn down your computer over there, Jerome.
I turned it off.
Hi, buddy. How we doing?
I'm doing good. I had some coffee this morning, and the alternative to orange tang.
Wait,
you know that?
The alternative to orange tang?
Yeah.
Wait, so there's like knockoff orange tang?
No, the thing that put orange tang out of business.
Oh, it starts with Sunny. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant just like orange juice.
Yeah. My grandma was a big tang person. I've never gotten into orange juice ever.
Really?
Never.
Really?
Not even
Good
when it
for
was a
you.
concentrate and it was in a Pillsbury dough canister.
It's good with vodka.
I can barely hear you guys, by the way.
Why would you dilute good vodka? That sounds pretty stupid. All right, is that better, Jerome?
That's a little better. There's like a
an
echo.
Oh, so QBAs can hear it.
Yeah.
Bobby Digital. That is a great reference. All right, is that better? Can you function now at a decent level?
I mean, I'll get through. I will fight.
All right,
I will fight for you.
we
I will
will-
fight for you.
Thank
I
you.
will fight for you.
Who would you have advanced to the second round in the dunk contest last night?
Well, people that made the dunk.
That's a good start. That was my biggest gripe because I'll be honest. Okay,
Even though we both picked Harburg.
yes, but at Harburg's second dunk, the one they
But
actually
my
made,
dark horse, and I didn't have my only dark horse was my main man, Quinn Clark.
who his first dunk,
Yeah,
he should have made it. He should have made it through.
Yeah, I mean, Harburg had the best dunk overall,
But he didn't make the
But-
first one.
he didn't make the first one, which he should have. Yeah.
I think maybe the judges just liked his frame. They're like, "Ooh, that guy looks yoked. I want to see this again."
He does look full-fledged tight end.
Oh, he's a monster. I told him.
Yeah.
Dude's a
I mean,
monster.
now the throw it off the backboard to yourself windmill is pretty. You got to be pretty decently athletic to do that.
Which is super funny because when on the one that Dylan threw to him, I was like, can he dunk at all? Like he didn't look like he was getting good jumps on him. And then he does that second one. I was like, oh, I guess he's fine. I think that'll work.
Where could you when you looked at McCullough's frame, what'd you think?
He's pretty tall and long, man. Like long arm guy.
Be curious.
Like
I think I'm even more convinced he's a second level
Linebacker.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's big. Like he's got some frame like chest and stuff to him. I feel weird. I'm talking on the phone, but I can see myself and I'm talking with my hands like I'm on the phone.
Hey, people make fun of me. I got a couple of coaches on our staff at Westside, and literally anytime I know I'm going to be remotely visual, I sit on my hands. They have it down to a science. It's annoying.
This is awkward.
Who does a better impersonation of you, them with your hands or him with your fudge?
Do you realize I've kind of put fudge on the shelf the last
because of him?
I know. It was so good. I was pissed. I'm not going to kid you, Jerome. I was pissed. Like I'm just.
He was traumatized.
I was like, wow, is that really? Oh my gosh. I think that's how it sounds. Yeah, I've kind of tried to low key, and it's hard because I don't have any replacements yet. You know?
Yeah, well, I have one. If you'd like, but you probably can't say it on the radio.
Hey, so I walked through this scenario yesterday. I gave out. I was 1-2 yesterday on my picks, and I looked at Ravi and I go, I'm tempted. I said Nebraska fits all the criteria. I want to give it out. I think it's a lock, but I'm not going to. And then we did this mock go through the schedule. This was like a couple segments later.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, let's pick the remainder of the games. And he started with Illinois, and I go, oh, that's a Nebraska win. And I got done, and I went through, and I think I was like 8-3 or something like that. And I go, oh, I have plenty of wiggle room. He goes, but you think they'll win tonight? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, I don't. And my first thought was, well, shoot, if I'm pretty confident that they're going to win, why wouldn't I take the 4 points?
Yeah, take the points.
Yeah.
Right? And as that thing's going on, I was like, it's weird. The team that I was so high on in the offseason is going to make me look like the smart guy the other way, because Illinois just refuses to play with any sort of
discipline.
That's too generic of a word. Like, I want to ask him, this is totally, as I start to use my hands, you know what I want to ask Coach Underwood? I want to say, what's the desired outcome?
Yeah, what is it?
Like, what is it that, like,
I feel like I'm in Office Space. So I want to be like, what is it you say you
like,
do
what is it
here?
that how do you think they want to play?
Well, there's no flow to their offense at all. I think it feels like, well, okay, now their best player has mono, so that helps. And their best shooter, I mean, he had mono, I guess, and he missed last night. He was there in the building and traveled the last 2 games with the team. But
you got mono. You stay your little narrow behind at home.
Yeah, I ain't messing with that. Like, I was standing there, Rob and Washington and I were standing there watching warm-ups for a little bit, and I looked down like a couple feet sitting in front of me on the front row, and I was like, wait, is that I whispered over to him, I was like, is that the guy that has mono? And he's like, yeah, I think so. I go, we should probably move then. So we like 4 steps away. But him not being there certainly matters. They have 2 injuries, actually, and he's one. He's their best shooter. But it feels like they are looking for like a Terrence Shannon like they had last year, where they could just, hey, you just put your head down and get to the rim, and we'll figure the rest out later.
Wouldn't you play Will Riley a lot more?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was really good last night, and frankly that 3 in the corner went in and out.
I was gonna say,
he only played like 10 minutes.
I was sitting right behind him, and I was like, "Ooh, that looked like bottoms."
No, he played more than 10 minutes. That was just in the first half.
Will
first
Riley
half he didn't play.
Yeah, he played 9 in the first half.
First half he didn't.
27.
He got which was dominated by what he did in the second half. He didn't play a ton in the first half.
Yeah.
And they weren't playing him and Casper very much together in the second half. They were like staggering their minutes, which I was like, hey, those are your only 2 guys that can do anything offensively. Maybe you play them at the same time.
You'd think Yakashunas looks like he would be a better shooter from distance, right? It looks pretty coming out of his hands. And he's better than 3 of 10, but that's still 30%, so not much better.
He takes some hard ones though too.
Oh yeah.
The one thing about Illinois is one thing with them is they their ability to rebound is remarkable.
Yeah.
So I was pretty discouraged. I was pretty discouraged early. I was like, they're gonna get every offensive rebound.
They kind of did. I mean, honestly, they out rebounded by what, like 25?
And they did have that. They did have that one lineup where they could go like 6'9" across the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 58-42 in the rebounding margin. But
so they closed it late. Yeah.
Yeah, 20-13 offensive rebound.
Because it was 50-27 at one point.
Yeah. Even like 20-13 offensive. Nebraska got 13 offensive rebounds. That's a lot.
You know where they made it up though is the turnovers. The turnover margin was like minus 13 the other way.
Yep. Yeah.
Correct. It was 17-6.
Yeah, so minus 11 the other way.
And I know Coach Hoiberg is not listening to one word I say, but why do you think Kel Jacobson played so much?
He's just trying to find an answer, man.
Anybody
that can.
He's just searching.
Anybody.
I'd like to see him. I said this I
I don't know, Mike. I think I'm biased just because of following his high school career so close, but I think I want to, for what they want to do, I think I want to see him play more.
Well, he can play. He's obviously not going to like shoot the wide open three that he had last night, but he can play defensively. He can be the 2, 3, 4 or something like that. I mean, they can use him a bunch of different ways, and using him in spurts is perfect. Like,
and starting Sam kind of moved him up a little, I think. Yep. And you're not playing Mia, so that was one less body, even though it's a much different position. But
so yeah, the Mia thing is very interesting. Like, at what point? So you waited until now to decide that a guy that's 7'2" and can't block a shot and can't make a shot really outside of a dunk wasn't going to be able to help you win games in the Big Ten? Like, you waited until after you lost 4 in a row in the Big Ten? Maybe we'll see him again, but even at the beginning of the year, I don't know if you guys remember this. I said, "Hey, like."
I thought you were a little harsh, and then here I was last week saying,
"Yeah, it might have been right."
No, I was like, "Well, yeah," but indirectly, I didn't reference Jerome. Yeah. I was like,
"I don't think you can play that guy.
I don't think you can't play him. He's not giving you any toughness."
So here's my question.
No.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say that eventually they were going to go to the small lineup with like Verghese at the 5. Well, they've gone with a smaller lineup, just Andrew Morgan at the 5, Verghese coming off the bench last night, which it worked, and Jawan at the 4, right? Like, the lineup was smaller because then you had Raleigh and Bryce. I mean, it kind of worked. It
was just good to see Morgan get to 30 minutes.
I thought Jawan at the 4 worked really well. Like, that's sort of, I get he's undersized, but for his skill set, that's sort of what he is. He's a 4.
He played. He needs to do those dirty. Yeah, he played his.
He did really hard.
Great defensively, no 3-point attempts. Like, he played really well.
Yeah.
Here's my question though, Sautter. So, like, at what point, what was Raleigh Wooster doing? Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, why was he taking 7 3-point? When he finally made one, like, what is he doing?
He made one. I think, against Wisconsin on Sunday, and I think that probably gave him some extra confidence.
In front of the
one
bench.
the one thing that he didn't do last night was try and like back people down in the post. So that's a positive, right? I mean,
it wasn't nearest. I know you're kind of joking, but not really. Like, it wasn't near as sticky.
No, yeah, the ball moved around a bunch. Like, it was, the offensive was good, and Raleigh played pretty well coming off the bench against Wisconsin. He was the only person that had a positive plus minus that played more than 3 minutes.
No, there's a role for Raleigh. he's a 20% 3-point shooter. Like, what's he doing taking 7?
Yeah, he's not. But if he's open enough, you take it.
There's a reason he's open.
Right. Exactly.
Like, they're playing him like he's a center.
You got to keep him honest a little bit, like just a little bit. He's fine. Like, in this role he's in, if he's not, he can be the primary ball handler. He cannot be. I think coming off the bench really kind of reset things. It felt like for him against Wisconsin. Then last night I think he played decent. Right, he made some plays and did some stuff. That's just kind of who he is.
I got the best of both worlds too, because I was cheering my brains out for Ohio State. They've now won 3 in a row, which keeps Penn State at 3 wins. I'm to the point now, Jerome, where I'm literally just trying to start with teams that Nebraska can track down from at the bottom. Yeah. Just, baby steps. Oregon laid an egg last night. They looked awful doing it
against my UCLA Bruins.
Yeah, Team Ravi here for Team Mick Cronin. But
5 in a row, baby.
So now all of a sudden, did I pick a win? I said they beat Oregon.
Yeah, you said.
Oregon looks pretty gettable.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think's going on with DA?
Or they're going to be really pissed off.
Yeah, but they're kind of. Listen, they're not playing very well.
if this is one of those like vintage Dana Altman things where like
they're gonna hit a little lull until close to tournament time,
and then they take off.
Yeah. They like go in this little thing, like little bitty mini slump, like lose a couple, look terrible, and then in late March, you're like, wait, they're really good. Oh yeah, that's right, they were really good at the beginning of the year, or whatever. So it feels like it's one of those like bumpy rides, and this is just a little bump that he's on. They're still very good, and Nebraska needs to find a way to win on the road, frankly, outside of Omaha. So it's hard. Now, you want to talk about teams to track down? Ohio State is one of those.
But they've won 3 in a row since the 3-game skid, though.
Right, but you have an opportunity because you play them twice. Can you get them?
I think they're different since Michi quit or whatever happened, stepped away or whatever.
Yeah, you could say quit. I think that's fair.
I don't know. Maybe it was like, hey, take some time away.
We're talking with Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports, NAB Preps.
I still think Ohio State's pretty good.
They are.
I'll say you've been riding that Ohio State bandwagon.
I think they're pretty good. What were we going to ask him?
I was just going to switch over to preps here with Sautter.
And we got some big ones this weekend, Jerome.
About 6-7 minutes left here with you, Mike. Where are you heading this weekend?
Tonight I will be my game of the week is Norris at Pius. So I will watch Norris for 2 weeks in a row on my game of the week. They won the fan vote over Prep and Millard North.
That's at Prep too. Do you think people do know Norris is 16-1, right?
Yeah, Norris is pretty good.
Yeah, and again, I told this to Ravi about 3 weeks ago. They're not going anywhere either because they got a good young group.
And they also have none of these guys graduate either. So they're going to be really good next year.
And the year after.
Yeah. they're not leaving anytime soon. But I saw them last week against Bennington, which was a really fun game, up and down, and teams just kind of making shots and players making shots. So watching them at Pius, it's like a pink out thing. So I'll be there tonight. And then tomorrow I'll be actually at Denver at UNO or Omaha, excuse me. So no high school for me tomorrow, just this one game tonight.
Well, how are you not going to go watch West Side and Central? I mean, come on.
When is that? Tomorrow?
Yeah, because I think Central's got Scut tonight.
Yeah, Central Scott tonight is the doubleheader, girls and boys. So that could be good. Both of those could be pretty fun. What time is that West Side game tomorrow we're talking about? Do you know?
It is. I think it's in the afternoon. 3? To be honest.
Oh man. Well, I could do that before I go to UNO. You got recruits coming in? Unofficial visit for the game.
I will be in Chicago.
I was gonna say people won't even be there.
Can't blame me this time.
Oh, all right.
You got the wrong school too. With what's going on out here? Wow, we're just watching the paint dry.
Mike, so how? I know you're headed out to Omaha tomorrow. How big is that one after they finally got their winning streak snapped? They're trying to get back on the right track.
Hey, that was the most gut-wrenching, slow motion 14-point lead debacle ever. Because even when they peed it away and it was like 81-80, I was like, they're still gonna find a way to win.
Yeah, when I was sitting, me and like 300 of my friends were sitting there watching the game in Vermilion the other night. There might have been 300, but. This is just a random coincidence. So I was at Nebraska when they lost to Iowa. It was a 15-point game with 14:56 left, right? Omaha, South Dakota was a 15-point game with 14:56 left. Same exact time on the clock, same number. Both leads lost on the road.
And the games both got into the 90s to 80s thing, which at that point you wouldn't have thought was going to happen either.
Exactly. So anyway,
it's
Omaha's
your fault.
Fine.
Yeah, it's Jerome's fault.
Yeah, I'm the jinx.
And that game was a pick'em. It was like 1.5 either way. So I think that was kind of the expected outcome.
Yes, it was. Ken Palm had it at a 1 point. Omaha lost actually. So, but South Dakota, if they actually had fans that showed up, that place would be nuts.
You like
crazy.
that? You like those facilities?
Like I like their arena. It's small. The roof is tight, like to the ground, or right
low
it's not
ceiling.
a big dome thing. I like that setup in that arena. Really nice. I will tell you though, you should take a trip to Brookings and what they did at the Frost Arena, the additions they made, or the redoing kind of what they did there. That place for a Summit League building.
Listen,
wow.
I told you Coach Jackson said he would get me an apartment in Sioux Falls. I just split the drive.
So I went up there. I went to Brookings before I went to Vermilion. I just went up there for the day, and I talked to Coach Jackson for a little bit in his office, and
he's already making hay in Omaha.
Yes, and imagine that. But you can feel he's kind of swimming a little bit with like trying to get staff and do all this, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I had a good talk with him. Nebraska Jacks will be back for sure.
Found a way to steal Kaliga. Not surprised.
Yeah. And so anyway, back to the game though. Like JJ White was pretty bad with like 6 turnovers in that game, and he's been playing extremely well. He was the Summer League Player of the week before. Markel was fantastic, which he's going to be. Like, he's really good. Outside of Oscar Clough, he's the Summer League Player of the Year right now. So, and Oscar Clough is averaging like 20 and 20, so you're not gonna probably beat him. But they'll be fine. They just lost their composure a little bit. That's what Coach Crutchfield said after the game. I think they'll be fine. Denver comes in, and Denver isn't great this year, but Omaha's going to need to rebound, and I think they got a chance to do that tomorrow night.
As always, enjoy all the hoops this weekend.
Thanks, Jerome.
This phone conversation was excellent.
Well, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it, okay, Jerome?
I sure hope so. Mike Sautter, we appreciate it as always, bud.
Yeah, bye.
Don't forget, make sure you go check out our friends at Centris Federal Credit Union, centrisfcu.org, federally insured NCUA, equal housing lender, and they've got you covered no matter what financial needs you find yourself having, whether it's just checking and savings, you need a car loan, mortgage, whatever else your financial needs are in 2025, they've got you covered. centrisfcu.org. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio and 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR and Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. DB.
How can I help you this fine morning?
Well, I'm just kind of looking through, seeing what we got for games this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah,
a couple big ones.
We've got.
What would you make the Carolina Duke line? 1,000?
Infinity.
Okay.
You can make the joke.
Yes.
I can't make the joke.
We went through this yesterday.
But I'm a North Carolina
Nobody
fan.
can gatekeep like your boy.
I'm a North Carolina fan.
Infinity and beyond.
So here's the problem, though, right?
What do you want now?
Is Duke plays about half the game to the level of their opponent.
Now, in their defense, they were up until – so you're just kind of getting into this Duke the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, more so. I watched them early, and then I took a little break. And
because they were blowing everybody out.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't playing any competitive games.
No, and so I wasn't paying that much attention.
So Wake and NC State, they looked a little shaky.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were beating people by, like,
they're beating people's heads in for a
40.
minute there. And then people, I need people to listen to the show a little bit better sometimes.
Why? What happened?
Because, okay, what did I start saying about 3 weeks ago? I was like, oh, yeah, Cooper Flagg has really started to figure it out offensively in the way I wanted him to earlier in the year.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And then I start getting tweets like a week ago being like, oh, looks like Cooper Flagg figured it out. That's like, yeah, I know. I've been on that for a month.
Yeah. What happened?
Like at the time.
How was that Garner a Steelers reference?
What happened? At the time, though, I wanted to see a little more out of Flagg offensively. Look at him at the first,
you weren't. It wasn't wrong.
No, it wasn't. But then people are like acting like they're keeping receipts.
I wish I could bury you, but I can't on this one.
Because I'm right.
No, I know how you felt.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I get he's really good. I'd like to see a little more offensively. And then he gave me more offensively. I'm like, now I'm cool.
Yeah.
I will say that Duke North Carolina game, it's at Duke. I'm probably
13, 14.
My instinct was definitely double digits. I think they'll probably tamp it down because it's a rivalry. So maybe like 9.5, 8.5, 9.5. I probably make it 11.5 if it's me.
Okay.
But I'm guessing it'll open just under double digits because of the rivalry.
Now, I will say this.
Yeah.
If you're going to get the Dukies,
Mhm.
They can be had in the backcourt.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but Carolina, and I know Hubert's going to try it.
Hubie.
Because all of a sudden it's super smart. He'll play like 4 guards. I still don't know if they could. I just don't think they had. The only way they can win that game is to keep it in the. It can't get above low 70s.
No, absolutely not. They cannot outscore Duke.
Low 70s.
They cannot outscore Duke. That is a thing.
Well, yeah, but it's not because Duke's good offensively. It's because they're so good defensively.
Yes.
Like they can lock you up.
Yeah, like if you're getting to the point where Duke has 80, you're not getting more than 70.
God, if Duke got 80 against Carolina,
you probably feel some kind of way about that.
Yeah.
So,
you know what's funny is I've seen Duke do it the other way. Like,
do you know?
I've seen the sorry of the Capels.
Yeah.
Like hit one at the buzzer in overtime and have and be the much inferior team and still win.
Austin Rivers.
Oh God.
Sorry, not to bring up old stuff, but
yeah, fan. I'm a fan.
I am. That's why I'm mad about the Austin Rivers thing.
You were in such glory of your fandomhood that you remembered Austin Rivers.
I was so mad about it.
That was deep. That last 3 minutes of that game was the ultimate wet the bed.
So, you want to guess what the Ken Palm number is on this one?
So Ken Palm is analytics. It's going to be statistically driven. So it's not even going to take into account the matchup in the backcourt.
No. Yeah, I don't think so. It does take a little bit of home court into account.
Kenneth Pomeroy will put that line at. Well, fudge. If I said 13, he's going to say 8. It's going to be 18.
He's got it at 15. 81-66.
So I wasn't. Oh, and almost where I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
81-66. Wow. He's got Duke as a 92% chance to win that game.
Yeah, I would have not given Carolina 8%. I'm not just being like the anti guy.
I know, but it's.
I'm the guy that told you the line against Pitt should have been 7, and I watched them win by 8.
Yeah, that's okay. So another marquee matchup.
Are you sure it's not Drexel? Oh, and why can't I get on the right side of Hofstra?
I don't know.
But hey, so quietly, like if you I will say this about this segment: if you listen to us just process enough and make your own decisions, like you're still gonna be good.
You're gonna get good info.
Because guess what the other one was?
Elon.
No.
Which one?
Which one did I process through?
I mean, you processed through Nebraska, Illinois.
William and Margaret.
Yeah, William and Mary.
And I told you the line against Campbell stunk to high heaven.
Yep.
Yeah, Campbell drubbed them.
Because I went on my Campbell Camels.
Yeah, and William and Margaret.
Yeah.
It was 7-1 in the conference at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. You said that stunk to high heavens.
Yeah, by the way, guess what?
What?
Do you know who the Coastal Conference is connected to television-wise?
Who?
Right in my wheelhouse because of wrestling. Flow.
Oh. Yeah.
Yep. Big Coastal Flow guy.
Love that.
Well, you know who I'm connected to? Big East. They've also got it looked like it was going to be a good matchup. Now I don't know what to do with Marquette and UConn because UConn is a little bit on the struggle bus.
I'm telling you, it's whenever they get ready, though.
What do you mean?
Like, they're always going to be capable.
Sure. Yeah. But they're basically playing 500 ball their last 6, going every other.
Yeah, Creighton sent them to the skids.
Not playing real well. Well, they lost to Nova before that.
Yeah, that was a toss-up, though.
It was. And then
I took Nova, and you laughed. You laughed.
I laugh at most of these because they sound absurd. The Minnesota-Michigan one still makes me mad.
Don't be.
I mean, it's dumb.
It's okay.
Like, congratulations, but
I'm still mad Drexel
but it's dumb.
couldn't find a way after the miraculous getting it to once it got to 80-80 in regulation. I was like, man, the Dragons on the hunt.
What are you making UConn at Marquette?
UConn at Marquette is Marquette -6.
What do you think that Ken Palm has it at?
I know he likes UConn. 3.
He's got it at Marquette by 8.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good, DB.
Yeah. The 6 is good. Yeah. I'm surprised you went the other way on Ken Palm. He does like the metrics do like UConn though. Connecticut.
Yeah.
The Huskies.
I used to say that when I was little.
That's because you have to remember how to spell it. Connecticut.
What happens with?
That's probably why you pronounce the R in February.
If you okay, library. Where you get your books?
The library.
Wait.
I'm gonna defer to you on February since it's Black History Month. I'm gonna let you have that one.
Again, the shortest amount of days, the coldest month, and the one in which I'm least apt to use charcoal. Great. Thanks for letting me have that.
Well,
Appreciate it.
You're not getting much else in February with the weather and
Part
the
of
charcoal.
part of the repercussions.
The repercussions? So do you
probably better in July though, isn't it? I mean,
No, I'd much take July.
really?
No, but they
To not
didn't
use charcoal?
want to be too.
To not use- to
Didn't
not
want to
use-
be too generous because we already got Juneteenth, and that was the month
To
before.
not use
Yeah,
charcoal
getting
for that
greedy
long.
over here, getting June and July. Come on, man.
I can't say it. What would you make Indiana and Purdue tonight?
So that's the one I'm looking at right now.
Because it's gaudy.
I think Indiana's bad.
I know you do.
You know how I feel.
They're obviously the worst 14-7 team in the country.
You know how I feel about one Michael J. Woodson.
But I try to tell you Purdue's good, and you keep telling me you're not sure.
Every time I watch him, I'm just like, meh.
They do. I will say this: every time I go on that tangent, they play just okay.
Yeah, they went to they kind of went.
So I'm like, that's why he won't believe me.
It's really true.
Does 12 seem heavy?
A little. I probably would have gone just under double digits. I probably would have gone like 8.5, 9.5. But the number and Ken Palm are in agreement here, right at 12.
Oh, right on.
Right on.
My man Kenneth Pomeroy is right on it.
What do you? Are there any plays you like tonight?
Yeah, lock it up.
Who are we locking up?
Shane, whatever your rent is, and a 2,000 unit play. No, I'm just teasing.
What do we got?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, usually only go up to. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
I'm going with.
You only go up to 100.
Yeah, because a unit is like a percentage of your like working capital on it doesn't matter. Who are your locks?
Yeah, so Shane, if you're $1 better and it's a 100 unit play, you'd have to bet $100.
No,
yes, it is.
Well, it depends on what your payroll or what your roll is. If your roll is $1, 100 unit play is $1. Like 100 units is 100% of your bankroll.
Is it the bankroll or what you play?
It's your bankroll. A unit is a percentage of your bankroll.
I thought a unit is what you play.
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't know.
What are your locks?
Just one.
What do we got?
Dayton. The Flyers. Yes.
Like the Mighty Ducks?
Yes.
Flying.
Catching a point on the road. Man, go Dayton.
That's bet on it.
Terrible public school system. Great place to lay a wager.
That is Bet on It, brought to you by Warrior Sportsbook. Matt Vrzal coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How did that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show and the week, as we always do here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, with our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker and owner of Pison's Pizzeria. What's up, Verse?
Hey, we're talking to you, Ding-a-ling. Can you hear? As he gives this look. Matt, is your phone on? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know what's happening right now.
Shane.
Is he on the phone?
Does he know that he's on the phone?
Verge, you there?
He's there now.
Oh, he just lobbed me. This dude just lobbed me the bird. What a Dean Bland. Now, what was that for?
Just a casual bird.
Because it didn't do the buzz in. There was no intro. There was no nothing.
Well, we did the whole Matt thing and all of that.
Didn't hear it. Shane.
So lob Shane the bird, not me.
He's not on camera.
Yeah, we
put Shane on camera.
No, we just had this in our meeting on Tuesday.
Come on, Shane.
As we try to blow this platform up, and the whole thing started with, now Shane, are you going to be okay being on camera? I was like, who gives a crap what Shane thinks? Like, if he needs to be on camera, then he needs to be on camera.
Why the f- is Shane walking in there?
Yeah, what do you say?
Your inability to acknowledge Shane as a valued member of the team is very disheartening.
That is so not true.
I've
never done this job without Shane.
Shane didn't sign up to be on the thing. Shane signed up to do the button.
Shane, all you do, you just do the buttons.
Hey, you can't
That's what he likes.
We got Bobby Digital and we got Shane Buttons.
Yeah, that's what Shane wants to do. Just let the man be there. He doesn't like being on camera like you do.
No, that's a lie. Shoot, that's a lie.
Look at you getting all embarrassed now.
Hey, no, I'm laughing at my guy. So, our buddy just hit me up. He's making fun of the little kid words I use. And we won't have to say his name in case we don't have to put him on blast. But who are we just talking about that you used to get jalapenos from?
DJ.
Yeah.
The habaneros.
I just said you don't have to say his name in case he doesn't want to be on blast.
Listen, man, we're adults. You can say his name. It's fine.
I let this dude cuss me out for about an hour on Saturday. He was in rare form. I just let it run.
DJ was?
Oh, yeah. I was kind
He was on one?
Oh, yeah. And I was kind of in my field, so I just took it. It was fine.
You just dropped the quarter in and got out the way?
Hey, it was so long, I put my AirPod in.
When VJ gets going, man, you just like, ooh.
I talked to him yesterday. It was great. I was telling him about, how he talked to me like he's way older than me, right?
Yeah,
which is part of his humor, and he was so right. I was asking him about some vehicles, and I was telling him about my lease situation. He goes, "Yeah, that's because you lease cars like a child. You let these people give you a number, and then you think you got a good lease deal, man. He's like, you're just hard-headed." I just was like, huh. I'd like to have stopped you when you told a lie, but there were no lies told right there. I'm just going to go ahead
Why didn't you just tell him, hey, if I buy a car from you and I drive it off a lot, just like any car, it loses half its value. So what's the difference?
Well,
I'm going to do what makes me happy.
Apparently, I need to go to this guy sitting next to me because he changes vehicles like you and I change T-shirts. So apparently, Ravi has cornered the market on how to do vehicles.
What I do?
How many different vehicles have you had in the last 15 months?
4.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Matty, I got questions, man. Can I start with the most important?
Sure.
How did I get an invite to your prestigious Cubs opening day?
Well, you know the answer.
I don't know. This dude's looking at me like I should know.
I don't know.
Does he really does he really like me like that? Because I would not know that.
We are building customer relations at City Bank and Trust, of which you are a customer.
Oh,
this is one of the benefits of being a customer.
Dude, I think I've been
City Bank and Trust out of Crete, Nebraska.
I've been so on point. He's got to be like, this dude is the deal.
this and the benefit. Listen, you really missed out on the boat because when the benefit package started like 29 years ago, it was robust.
Oh, yeah.
If you even motioned toward your wallet, they got mad at you. Now the banking rules have changed, so it's a little different. But, yeah.
So what would one have to budget, generally speaking, for a Cubs opening day vacation?
You'll be fine. Just bring your ass. That's all you got to do. Take it there. You think too much.
This just in.
Stop thinking. Just go.
That was the GOAT. That is the greatest line. So you know who the first one that used to coin that phrase when I would ask too many questions? T-phrase. Just go. Just bring your bunda.
Yeah.
Let's go, Gregory.
Did T-phrase say bunda?
You guys.
Okay, I was just asking.
I texted you the invite. All I need is a yes or no. I got.
And
excellent.
I was shocked.
I didn't even read it.
That's fine.
So you're going?
Yes. April 4th.
Are you going to back out?
No. I can go to work in the morning. That's what you do, and then we leave, right?
Oh, no.
What?
This is leaving. We got stuff to do on Thursday night before the Friday night home opener.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing that radio appearance like you do on Fridays. Then.
I am. I am.
It's all right. I'll find a fill in, and then we can talk to Verz in all his glory Friday morning and you'll be sleeping
Oh,
somewhere
no.
probably.
I'm gonna go try to find some good breakfast.
I'm gonna interview Damon live from Wrigley Field.
Let's do it.
You know what?
Man, you're kind of a superstar too. I might be able to get some Ricketts involvement if you go.
This dude. Matt, hey, so can I ask you something about if you wanted to keep, you love business. If you wanted to keep generating revenues for the spring game, but not have a spring, but not do like the spring game, what would you do? Would you do like the kind of the all-star thing, or let you ugly big guys go be athletes and do something fun, or like what would you do?
Do they want to get rid of the spring game?
I can't.
Yeah, I would eliminate that, number one, and I would go play a game.
Oh, just so
you're gonna make the money anyway, right? And you know the structure, you know the setup. It's 1-0 versus 1D, 2-0 versus 2D. That's your teams. Then you intermingle the other guys in later, and just go play. Just figure it out. And you might find somebody. You might find somebody that's better than you think they are, but they aren't a practice player. Some guys hate practice. They go try, but it doesn't work. But you know what? When you put them in a situation where it's an actual game and it means something, then they play. And you might steal a couple that you didn't think you had.
Verz, do you like? This is a genuine question because I don't know. Is there a bigger risk in your mind of injury at a spring game versus a spring practice, or like what's the consternation about the actual game?
Yeah, you just want to call it a practice and move on.
Yeah, like what's the difference?
You can get injured walking down the street.
Right, but like, isn't that usually what people complain about? Is like, oh, we're getting guys hurt. Like, it's not any different than a practice in terms of risk, right?
Then what's the difference between risk getting hurt in a game? I mean, you know what you signed up for, right? It's a violent game played by violent people, and it's awesome. It's awesome. Miss it every day. But go, like, if you, okay, I'm a huge believer in this. If you play football and you go as hard as you can every play you have available, you won't get hurt. You won't. But it's when you think and when you hesitate and when you stop or when you stand around a pile, just like looking around like, oh my God, look at this. It's great. No.
And you get
Stay
caught.
in motion. Keep your feet moving.
Yeah.
But that's a learned behavior. And then when you learn, if every time I go attempt to play this sport, I go as hard as I can for as long as I can, then they take me on and somebody else goes as hard as they can for as long as they can, by goddamn, we just got a lot better. We're actually decent at this game. And when it gets down to the fourth quarter and we need to win, we win. Like that will stand the test of time. Great offensive line, great defensive line, play as hard as you can for as long as you can. Then when your sub goes in, they play as hard as they can for as long as they can. And then the next person goes in, you get to go back in. But you won't get hurt if you play hard. You won't. It won't happen.
All right, Matthew Pichu. I have one last thing. I will be in Chicago in the morning for Christian's. He's got a banquet tomorrow night. Where do I go get? Where do you want me to go get some a nice spoon breakfast? Where's Vidlax in Chicago or some of these Yes, breakfast. I'm not going to eat during the day.
Where are you staying?
I don't know, to be honest. RAD did it. RAD did it.
Okay. I got a spot on the south side of Chicago for you then. You take an Uber over to the south side at 9 a.m. Let me know how that goes.
That's fun. I'm dumb. I'm not stupid.
Chicago's a big city, my guy. Like, I got to have a neighborhood.
Yeah.
At least a half a town.
I'll be
on
the old train at 8:30. Appreciate you. Good time.
Hold on. So west side, so we're probably staying at the Ritz-Carlton. So there's a couple kids in Nebraska's kind of after Mount Carmel, so we probably got to take that recruiting visit. So
yeah,
there's a sweet Russian mob joint. It's called Snickers.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's really good.
Hey.
Well, you're going to see some stuff. You're going to see some stuff you might want to see in there. I'm just telling you.
It's great. Just keep
And
your head.
and now I'm probably going to go there when we go for the home opener now because I missed that.
Matt Vrzal for getting his friends off so he can keep his hands clean.
Just keep your head down and eat your breakfast.
No. They're very friendly people. They're very friendly.
Awesome.
Just don't ask any questions.
That's our guy, Matt Vrzal. Verz, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Matty.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up on Monday.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.